Hello, welcome to my home and my official houseplant tour of 2024. Hello there, my name is Melissa and this is my plant room. I am going to bring you my official houseplant tour of 2024. It has been way over a year since my last houseplant tour. My last one was done in January of 2023. And looking back at January of 2023, my plants have grown so much since that time, and I'm excited to share each and every plant with you today. Also, before we get started, I want to give you just a little bit of a background about me if you're new here or you don't know anything about me. So I'm Melissa. I've been growing plants since the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, and my collection has been growing ever since. Obviously, I have some huge plants behind me that I've been growing for several years now. Super proud of them. I have a lot of big, impressive plants in my collection, and I spend a lot of time and care into growing the plants that I have. I'm super proud of where my collection is today. I've gone through a lot of plant struggles and everything. So I've been there, and yeah, I love helping other people out there with issues that they're having with their own plants, and I love just sharing what I do with my own collection, and yeah, I just love making these videos. I live here in Savannah, Georgia, where it's bright and sunny during spring and summer, but we also get a lot of rain. So we are very fortunate here to have a good growing season. It's very warm, it's humid, and I'm very lucky that this plant room here is actually south facing, which here in the northern hemisphere, it is really great light for plants. And so currently my temperature is kind of low 70s to mid 70s, and humidity is roughly anywhere from 50s to 60s upwards to over 70s. So yeah, I just wanted to give you that little background about me. So now it's time to get started. Since it's a little early in the morning, I'm going to do some other areas first and come back to my plant room because all the lights haven't come on in here yet. Get comfy, relax. It's going to be a long video. I'm not breaking this up into segments, so you're getting the full thing right here. And I will have timestamps down below to help kind of pick apart some areas of my home if that's easier for you to kind of navigate this long video. I will have the plant names on the screen as I go through them. So thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoy. We're going to start off with our big, beautiful Tenanthe. I've had this Tenanthe for almost 2 years. This was actually the first plant that I bought when we moved here to Savannah almost 2 years ago. It was last April. This plant is beautiful. It has like this burgundy underside on the leaves. It's a beautiful plant, and they're so easygoing. I love these plants so much, and I hope she continues to grow well and do well for me this year. I adore these plants. They are known to get a bad rap for being finicky, but Tenanthes are a really easygoing one, so I highly recommend a Tenanthe plant. Starting on the end is a Maranta Cruciovana. This is also known as a rabbit tracks Maranta because of the pattern on the leaves. It is so beautiful. I absolutely love love the markings. A lot of my Marantas are putting out a ton of growth right now since spring is here. So these beautiful vibrant leaves are all new and they have the cutest little blooms on them. I love Maranta blooms. I do have a couple more baskets of this one that I took propagations from her that I will show you. So technically I have like 3 of these, but this is like the main plant and it has been through a lot. It survived flat mites. Well, a lot of my Maranta survived flat mites, but she had a little bit of a setback. She was really full at one point, but I'm happy to see her finally growing back. Kind of skipping over these two, this is another like propagation from her down here, and you can see that new growth coming in. The older leaves kind of fade that marking, so they're not as vibrant as like the new growth, but this was just a little propagation that I decided to pot up separately. We're gonna slide her out. So this here is my red Maranta leucanura. I adore this red Maranta. She has been in my collection for over 2 years now. It is such a stunning Maranta, and again with the beautiful blooms. She's definitely probably one of my favorite Marantas along with my lemon lime. And then next to her on the shelf is a lemon lime Maranta. I have several of these actually in my collection and I love the lemon lime. This one is actually still in the original mix. I have not repotted that one yet either. She's very long and full and beautiful. They seem to like the spot even though it is less light. They really don't seem to mind. As long as they're happy, I'm happy because I just adore these plants so much. So yeah, you guys will see some more in my collection. Next to these on this other side here, these are actually some Hoyas in my collection. Back here in the back, I'll start with this little cutie. This is a Hoya australis Lisa. I love how vibrant the new leaves come in. Aren't they pretty? This Hoya I've had in my collection for a while. Actually, a lot of my Hoyas are pretty old Hoyas. I've had them for like 3 years. I started them from my collection as like cuttings that I got locally. Actually, all these here started as a very tiny plants. This one I feel like is a little bit stubborn to grow, but maybe because it had mealies, it was affecting it, but I like the bright colors, the green and the green. I think it's a pretty Hoya, but yeah, it got a little sad with the mealy outbreak. It has not bloomed for me yet. Hoya obovata Splash. This one has the round leaves with the splashy markings you can see. And this one recently bloomed for me, and I have some open blooms to show you. Look at those. They are so pretty. I don't know if you can make the dewdrops out. It's a very sappy Hoya. So unfortunately, like sappy Hoyas, if you have them in the window, can attract ants because I've had that issue before. There's another peduncle over here. These ones haven't opened yet. I have more peduncles up here forming. There's like one here and there is one here as well. So these little tendrils will grow more leaves. You can actually see a little leaf here forming like that. So yeah, if you see those, don't cut them off unless you don't want the leaves to grow, but you can see the little leaves. So those will grow in to be like beautiful leaves like these here. I love the round shape. I think this is a beautiful Hoya. It's kind of outgrowing the trellis situation that I have for it, so I'll probably eventually switch it to a bigger one, but yeah, it's a very pretty Hoya. This big one up here is actually one of my oldest Hoyas. This is a Hoya Sunrise. It sun stresses beautifully. Aren't those leaves so pretty? I had this one in my plant room getting southern light, so this side was up against the window, but since I noticed a couple mealies popping up on it, I did recently move it in here, so it is getting lower light right now. This one had a ton of blooms on it recently, but they all fell off. You can see all the peduncles here. They do regrow from the same peduncle. I have another Hoya in bloom that I'll show you that does it constantly. So don't cut these off once the blooms fall off because they'll regrow a new bloom from them. I don't know if you can make her out all the way. A big, big Hoya. It's a Hoya latifolia. It actually got reclassified. It's also known as a macrophylla. And this one has a beautiful like elbow marginata, I believe is what this one is. Has the variegation on the outside. And this one actually bloomed for me recently. You can see kind of the peduncles here had fallen off. And it's growing some new leaves in here. This one is such a pretty Hoya. I've had this one again for a really long time, and it's clearly outgrown its trellis and everything. Yeah, I need to like repot it and get this restaked. I have a little 10-watt lamp there just to give some extra light. And then I have a 36-watt bulb in that one just to give a little extra light to this area. So I'm going to see how they do here. And once I know the mealies are gone, I'll probably end up moving them. But I kind of just want them isolated right here so that they're contained. This is our kind of master bathroom area, and we have a few plants in here. Straight in front, we have another lemon lime maranta, and I adore this maranta so much. She's so beautiful. I'll put a picture on the screen of when I first got her. She's another like big box store find. I do want to slowly work on repotting some of these plants for this season because, yeah, I haven't repotted her yet. And straight up ahead, hanging is a golden pothos. This one really needs a repot. When I underwater it, which I do often, I'll get some yellowing, you can kind of see there, and I just pluck them away. But usually I know when she's thirsty, when she starts to droop her leaves. She's growing all the way down here now. I did take cuttings of this golden pothos to do on a moss pole, which I will show you later, some bigger leaves of this plant. Back behind beautiful lemon lime is a calathea. And this one kind of went dormant over winter, but she is pushing some new growth. I forget the exact name of this one. I'll have to see if I can find it and put it on the screen. But I got this one. It's still in the original mix. I got this one from Costa at my big box store. But yeah, I was a little sad it kind of went dormant in here over winter, especially because the bathroom growing environment is pretty ideal. I did have it back away from the light a little bit, so I did move it up here so that it could get some light. This little cutie is a Tenanthe Burl Marksy. Again, another Tenanthe. These plants are so pretty. I love like the dainty tiny leaves on this one. It's like a minty green color, and it has kind of like a red burgundy maroon-ish underside. It's so cute. This one I got from my local big box store as well. It's potted into my soil mix. This was a water prop in a little vessel, and I transferred it to soil. So it's grown and filled out quite a bit. I got this one last year. Hi. Hi. Did you join us? Do you want some water? She likes to drink out of the sink. Let's get a Luna water break. We'll finish up while she's drinking the water. This maranta here is another Cruciovana rabbit tracks. Look at the big leaves coming in on her and all the blooms. This is another propagation from the other one that I showed you. These are all like the original older leaves here. Had like a huge growth spurt, so all these big beautiful ones are all new growth that have come in since the start of spring. It's such a beautiful maranta. I love them. I love them so much. And this calathea over here is a Rosa Picta Sylvia, I believe. It's somewhat still happy, but I feel like it could use like a pick-me-up or something. I'm not sure. Maybe I feel like this one is in the corner so it doesn't get as much light, but I'm tempted to move this one to a new spot because it's lived in this area for a while, and I just feel like it's not as happy as some of my other plants, other calatheas. So I don't know. I definitely want to do like a refresh and just make sure it doesn't have pests because, yeah, flat mites really damaged my maranta and calathea collection. I like the pink on her. Even though it's a little dull at the moment, they do come in more vibrant. I might be tempted to put like another calathea or something in here, but again, I didn't want to overwhelm our bathroom space. And oh, I forgot to show you, I have a little maranta propagation in that vessel from that one. I accidentally broke a stem off. I might just pop that one up as like a separate plant or something. But yeah, I am going to be tempted to repot her this year just because she needs a repot. But yeah, I love the little bathroom plants in here. They make me so happy whenever I'm in here getting ready in the morning or showering. I just stare at them. And again, it being the bathroom where it is more humid, they just love that environment. And of course, you know, I feel like that's enough light for these type of plants coming in. I recently redid this for spring, so I put a few plants out here. I was watering this guy, so we're gonna put him back out here. This is a staghorn fern, and I mounted this guy by myself. It hangs right here. I tend to underwater this one. I left it out in the sun last summer, and I have some like burnt leaves on some of the older leaves, but it is pushing a ton of new growth. So I'm just trying to not to underwater it, because I do have a habit of underwatering that one. But yeah, it's just on a cedar wood plank. I do have an old video where I did this and put this guy on here, and it was a very small plant without any basil fronds or anything, but it's done well, I feel like, since I've had it. So I do have a lot of new growth coming in. But yeah, it's a cutie little plant. Now again, since this is the north side of the house, we don't get like too much light in this section. This is all north facing. So the plants do get a little bit of eastern exposure out here, which is on this side in the mornings. And then this side over here is like west facing, but again, like the plants in here aren't in the sun. You can actually see the shade where it comes out to, so they don't get any direct sun on their leaves. I put them out here, it hasn't quite been a week, and they're tolerating the adjustment just fine, and I don't see any kind of burning or anything like that because it's not like super bright out here. But so far they really seem to like being out here. The cats are looking at the dog. Do you see them? They're like, what is that thing? That's funny. We got new neighbors here, and so they put a fence up. Okay, back to the plants. I'm getting distracted by animals. This is a birds of paradise here. I got this one last summer, and unfortunately it came down with a fungal issue, but I kind of rehabbed it back over winter. It is pushing some new growth, you can kind of see in here, and I don't have any of the fungal issues coming back on this plant. So I did recently just slightly upsize it, just like maybe an inch for the season, because I hadn't repotted it yet. But yeah, so far it seems to be tolerating that well, and I hope I can get it to grow well for me. Oh look, now the third cat has come. This is like such a cute photo. That is adorable. They're watching the dog. That is so funny. I am dying right now. They're so cute. You guys are so cute. This here is a Ficus tenaci, and I've had this ficus for quite a while. I got this, I think locally back when I lived in North Carolina. It's 3 vines in here total. I had this one out on my front porch all summer last summer, and it got really burnt out there. It was just too hot. My front porch is all south facing, full sun, and I underwatered it because it was drying out so quickly. Oh, there's a plane up ahead. But I had it in my east window all winter. It did drop some leaves on this vine here. It did actually, which is nice, it did kind of self-branch right here, which is kind of cool. And there's actually another little branch coming here. And it is pushing new leaves on all 3 like vines now, so I feel like it's really gonna like being out here on the patio instead of my front porch. But I'm hoping it fills out nicely and grows a bit taller for me. I was tempted to propagate it, but since it's kind of self-branching, I'm just gonna see what it does. I tried to notch a few more areas to see if I can get some more branching where I lost some leaves, so I'll kind of see what happens. But it's a beautiful ficus. I don't have many ficus in my collection, but I do love the variegation on this one. The white parts of the leaves can brown kind of easily, just with it being a variegated plant. But yeah, it has beautiful markings, beautiful color. Gorgeous plant here is my Monstera deliciosa. I did recently combine my 2 big ones. I potted her into a huge planter. The tallest vine, this is the biggest leaf here, and it's a pretty decent sized leaf, and it is pushing a new growth back in here that you can see, the growth spike right there. So that leaf is going to be a huge leaf once it unfurls. And then the original plant was 2 vines. So I have a total of 3 vines in here now, and one of the vines is pushing a new leaf there. I love Monstera deliciosa, and Yeah, I just love all monsteras. I'm a huge monstera lover. It's my favorite genus. I do have a little cart here. I might eventually put some more plants out here, but for right now, I have a oxalis. This is a purple oxalis. I recently repotted this one because I hadn't repotted it yet, so I put it in an 8-inch planter, and it's a lot happier. I have like these purple blooms coming in. This thing blooms like crazy. They're really pretty though. I think oxalis here is a beautiful plant. Look at that. I have heard they can go dormant over winter. Mine didn't really go dormant. It just prefers higher light. I was worried like this spot wouldn't be enough light for it, but it seems to be happy. I'm probably gonna have to throw some water on it actually, since my staghorn fern was a bit dry. I'm pretty sure that that one's probably wanting water. It gets like really limp and droopy when it's thirsty, but since the repot, I am getting some new growth in there. This one here is a type of anthurium. It's a variegated, I forget the name, but I will put it on the screen. I didn't buy this plant. It was a gift from an import company that sent me some plants over the summer, last summer. I do have this one in pond. I actually just stuck it out here because I didn't really have a spot for it, and although I think it's beautiful, it's not my favorite plant. Like I probably wouldn't have bought this on my own, but since it was gifted and I have it, like, and it is variegated, I figured, you know, right now I don't want to get rid of it or anything. I mean, it's a pretty anthurium. It's an interesting anthurium leaf shape, but I would say not my favorite. And this cutie here is a variegated banana. This is actually a tissue culture, and I recently put it out here. It was in my plant room. I did underwater this one, so I unfortunately have some yellowing going on, which is kind of sad. This one is very, very thirsty. Mine isn't that variegated. You can kind of see some slight variegation. It's not really what I was hoping for with a variegated banana, but it is growing like pretty steadily. Since I just put it out here, I'm not sure if it's gonna like this spot. I feel like it might want more light, so I'll see how it goes. I just wanted to get it out of my plant room because it's getting kind of tall and my plant room is already so squished and full of plants. But I do really like it. I might eventually get a variegated banana that's more variegated, but yeah, this is a tissue culture and it's doing well. So yeah, we'll see how that goes for the summer out here. So yeah, I might eventually add a few more plants out here for the growing season, but for right now, I kind of like what we have. I do want to get some caladiums, and we are going to be doing some yard work out here too, so I'm excited for that. I love caladiums. I had several out here over the summer, last summer. So we are going to head in and do our dining area next, which is just right in this little corner. It is less cluttered because I did move a lot of these plants that were in there, like these plants. So it's more open, which feels nice, but I do still have like a good little selection of plants there. We are going to start with this cutie here. This is one of my Marble Queen pothos, or Epipremnum Marble Queen. I can't get enough of Marble Queens. I love them so much. Just some of my favorite plants. This leaf here is one of my favorites because of the tones, like all the minty colors and everything. I feel like all Marble Queens look different, but this one is more splashy, and I do have a lot of white that comes in on this one. I mean, I technically bought it as a Marble Queen. It just has lots of tones, which I love about this one. I'm not counting these as plants in my collection because this was a plant mail that came with thrips, unfortunately. It's been in quarantine. It is starting to grow some new leaves, but I'm not ready to take it out of the bag yet. I'm not keeping this plant. I am going to look at giving this one away because I do have some others in my collection that I was gifted, which I'm so grateful for, and you guys will see those in my plant room. But yeah, this one is doing okay, but yeah, I'm going to get rid of this plant. I don't want it. It doesn't mean anything to me, so yeah, I will be letting that one go. Here's kind of the overview of the plants in this section. This shelf is from Amazon. I don't really have plants blocking this window because I had all my monsteras and everything shoved in this corner over winter, and it was just really, really cluttered. I recently repotted this orchid. I was trying a water culture out, but unfortunately it just was not doing well. So I did pot it up recently, and it just feels and looks a lot better. Because it hasn't really been a week yet, it's going to take a while for this plant to start growing again, but I'm at least excited to have it back into like an aeroid mix. I have like moss, and then some of my aroid mix kind of mixed in. This one, I do not know the name of. I got this one a while ago, and it has like some curly leaves to it. This one was in my plant room, but I decided to move it out here now that I cleared up some space. And this little cutie I got from my big box store, and I don't know the name of this one either, but it's cute. I just have it right up here in that little cat. I got it because of the cat. I couldn't resist. So yeah, I do have 2 more air plants that I will show you. I don't have a lot in my collection, but I do think they're really cute. I just soak them once a week in like gentle fertilizer. This beautiful calathea in the corner is an orbifolia, and I love this plant so much. This is not my original orbifolia. It unfortunately didn't make it. It had flat mites and it just went downhill. It just got super stressed. And my other one had thrips as well during the summer that I had them. It'll be 2 summers ago, and it just did not handle it well. This one I found at my big box store. I got this one last year, and this is actually variegated. I don't know, let me see if I can find, I don't know if it's gonna be able to, if you're gonna be able to see that variegation there. I don't know if it's coming across, but a lot of the like original leaves have variegation, kind of slight variegation. Some of the newer leaves don't really have as much variegation coming in, but it's very minimal. I feel like it's really happy in this corner. I did have it like right here, getting some lower light. It is getting a bit more light in this corner, so I'll have to see how it handles it, if it likes it. If I feel like it doesn't like being in the corner, I'll move it back and probably slide those poles over a bit. But yeah, it is getting a bit more light than what it's used to. This is just a neon pothos, and I wish I would have saved cutting it. I recently cut all the strands because it was, so that one was on the shelf over here, and it was so long. I mean, it was extremely long, like all the way curled to the floor, and it was just too big for this space. So yeah, I recently chopped all the vines off, so those will regrow in some time. I didn't cut all the bottom ones off, but I cut a lot of the longer ones away. And this one here is actually a neon pothos as well. It's very neglected. You can see it's been needing some more moss in its moss pole for a while, but I am getting some bigger leaves finally. I feel like this one, because it is so neon, it's just a bit slower. These 2 moss poles here I kind of neglect because they're not in my plant room. I have a lot of plants on moss poles that you will see. I did start this neon the same time as my marble queen in my plant room, and it's just so slow. Like, that's been years of growth. This one over here is a Monstera siltepecana. It's just the, I guess, a regular form. It's not an El Salvador, but I love like these mature leaves with the splits. It's so cool. You know, some of the more juvenile leaves kind of look like that. But yeah, I've had this plant in my collection for a while. You can see it's a bit droopy. It needs water. The moss pole's completely dry, so I'll have to water that later. So over here on the corner, this is another Epipremnum pothos. It's more green right now because it was getting lower light, but you can see kind of some of the variegation. Now I do have and a very, very impressive moss pole of this plant that I actually took some cuttings of. I did recently prop her, so a lot of the ends are kind of snapped here, but it will regrow. The new growth comes in a lot more vibrant, but it does kind of fade to a bit of a darker green in lower light situations. Next to that, we have a peace lily. This one is a platinum. The blooms aren't white or anything, they're kind of coming in green. I'm sure this one probably could use a little bit more light. I loved the green tone of the leaves, but it's kind of minty. It is a very thirsty plant. I have underwatered that several times. This one here is a Philodendron Brazil. This is my original Brazil, and I had to like kind of restart this one over again, but it's pushing out a lot of new growth, especially down here. Probably will add those props back in to fill this plant out. Up here is a massive begonia. This is a begonia maculata. This is actually my only begonia in my plant collection. Look how beautiful this plant is. This one's actually growing hydroponically in water. You can see the, if I can move the leaves out of the way, you can see the root system there. I did upsize this plant recently. It was in a much smaller water vessel. I did break a strand accidentally, so there's a couple strands in here that doesn't have any roots. I'm sure they probably have roots now, but these guys root so easily in water if you ever want to prop yours. It really loves growing in water. I had it in soil at one point, but I propagated it and stuck those props in water, and yeah, I just left them in water for too long, and I just noticed it really liked growing in water, so I don't have any plans of potting this one back into soil. Moving down from the begonia, you can see a very long trailing marble queen. Now this marble queen is my OG marble queen. This is the one that I've had for a really long time, and it's also the one that I started my moss pole from, and yeah, she's my original basket, and I love her so much, especially these strands down here growing. Look at how beautiful the variegation is. I mean, look at that. That is stunning. And she has another long one down here. So, so pretty. I'll probably eventually prop her, but I don't know. She has a special place in my heart. I love Marble Queen. It's one of my favorite plants. Because, I mean, for the price, you just can't beat like the variegation and the color and everything. Just such a beautiful plant. I adore them. I also recently got another Marble Queen right down there that I'll show you. Next to the Marble Queen is, what is back here? Oh, this is technically a geo plant. So mine was on the struggle bus. I had it in my bathroom and the entire thing got crispy and it went dormant. But I do have, let me take it out. I do have some new growth spikes that you can kind of see down in there. There's one there, and I thought I had another one. Oh no, the other one's drying up. So I just have one growth spike. I mean, it's still alive, it's hanging on. I got this one because I thought the leaf that was on this plant was variegated. I thought I got like really lucky and found one, but apparently that's just the way the new leaves come in. Hopefully it still does okay for me. And in here is a water propagation. This is a Syngonium Baltic, and the leaves, I don't know if you can tell like all the veining on this one. It's very pretty. I recently have kind of fallen out of love with Syngonium. I had a bigger basket of this, but it kind of stressed and yellowed a lot of the leaves, and I ended up just propagating what I could, and I recently again propagated my propagations because I let them overgrow. I don't know if I'm going to keep this Syngonium. I might look at letting this one go. For some reason I'm not in love with it anymore, but that's okay. It's okay to fall out of love with plants. This is actually a cutting that I got from one of my neighbors. This is a Thanksgiving cactus, and it kind of fell off of her plant. Now it didn't have any roots when I had it, but I potted it into a soil mix. And I potted it in here without any roots, and it's decided to root and grow, and you can see all the cute little new leaves coming in. Look at that. And it also has a bloom here coming in, which it's April, so it's funny that it has a bloom. It did bloom like a really pink, pretty bloom recently, but it fell off. But I have lots of new little growth spikes coming in, and it looks like, I don't know, it might bloom again there. I just feel like the little leaves are so stinking cute. Like, look how little that is. But yeah, I've never had like a Thanksgiving cactus before. I think I did try at one point to get a Christmas cactus, but I let it go before we moved. But yeah, I'm excited to have this one, and I feel like because it was a gift, you know, that it's more special, but it's really happy. It really likes the spot, and yeah, it's growing a ton of new leaves. This here is a Enjoy Pothos, a primitive Enjoy, or actually Pearls and Jade. I did buy this as a Pearls and Jade, but sometimes I feel like they kind of have mixed pots in a way, because I feel like some of the leaves look more like a Pearls and Jade where you have the speckling there on the green, and then some that are more white kind of look like an Enjoy to me. Sometimes I call it both, but technically I bought it as a Pearls and Jade. Now this is the original pot. I do have one on a moss pole that I will show you in my plant room, but this was just like the extra plant that I had. I did have this one in a different spot. This is a new spot for this plant, and it was in extremely low light, so it really hasn't grown a whole lot. But since I moved it here, I feel like it's a lot happier. These two plants here are a recent propagation that I did when I rearranged for spring. I have a philodendron biliatia, which is this guy here, And then I have a philodendron Jose Bueno, which is this guy here. These plants I don't think I want to keep in my collection. So they were plants that were outside over the summer, last summer, and I really neglected them out there. And I kind of housed them in here over winter. And again, I kind of neglected them. So I recently propagated like a good top cut because a lot of the bottom growth was yellowing and just did not look very happy. So I'm going to re-prop this top cut here and the top cut on this one. I feel like I don't really want these plants in my collection anymore, so I'm probably going to look at letting these go. But yeah, I just want to root like a healthy cutting first before I do that. This little cutie syngonium is so adorable. I'm so happy that it's coming back. This is a syngonium frosted heart. So mine was really big and tall. I had it growing not really on a moss pole, but just kind of a stake situation. And unfortunately, it came down with a fungal issue. I only was able to salvage one cutting, and even the cutting wasn't doing that well, but it activated 2 nodes here, you can see, and it's finally starting to grow back. Now, this syngonium is one that I really do love. I just think it's so unique. I love the heart-shaped leaves and like the frostedness to it. I don't know. And I love like the minty tones. So this is one that I really love. It's really cute and petite right now, and it's so adorable. I have it in my aeroid mix. But yeah, I'm so excited that it's coming back. I just think it's such a cute little syngonium. Next to the syngonium, I have a ZZ plant. This is my only ZZ plant right now. This is a chameleon ZZ, and it has the beautiful kind of variegation there. This one was a rehab project. I have 5 stalks here that have grown back, and then there looks to be like a new spike here. I had to completely like reroot this plant. It rotted. I basically stuck all the rhizomes under the soil, and they eventually rooted and popped new growth. So this is all new growth that has come back. I feel like this one would appreciate more light, but it seems happy at least right now because it does have this lamp right here. So I'm gonna leave it here, but I'll eventually have to move it because these are gonna get too tall for this shelf. But yeah, I like this ZZ plant. I think the color of this one is pretty. Back behind here, I just have some philodendron micans propagations. I have a couple containers of props, and then I have my huge moss pole that you will see. But yeah, I took some cuttings off of my pole, and you can see all the tiny new growth that has come in. So I just kind of have that there for now, but I'll probably eventually like separate all those props and make some new containers. Down here on this shelf, this is the new air plant that I got recently. This one is a Zero Graphica. I love how big it is. I fell in love with not only the color of it, but just the size of it. I think that color of green is so pretty. I love the mintiness on it. But yeah, I just soak this once a week with all my air plants and add some gentle fertilizer, and I let it kind of dry upside down for kind of overnight, and then I'll put them back. This beauty is another new purchase. I found this at my big box store and I could not say no to it. I love the leaves and the color of this one. I don't know, it just looked so different. Like I love the white on it. It might look more Snow Queenie, I guess. I don't know, but it's very pretty. I just love this one, especially this leaf here. I love this leaf and this leaf. So yeah, it's in a cute little basket in the original pot. So I'll probably let this one grow out. And then I may eventually, you know, propagate them, but I could not pass this one up. I feel like they look so different. Like that one looks different than that one there. And it looks different than that one over there. They're just all different. This one I found at my local big box store. It's known as a zebra plant. I'll put the actual scientific name on the screen, but this one is the Snow White version, and this one is beautiful. The leaves are kind of like a white color. I did have the original one, but I let that one go. So I was in there one day and I saw this whiter version and I fell in love with it, and I kind of missed mine. I recently put it on the end here because it was getting too tall for this shelf. You can see the new growth coming in. My old one bloomed. They have yellow blooms that come in. This one is a very, very thirsty plant, and they do like a lot of light. So I feel like this spot is kind of lower light, which I hope it doesn't mind, but I'll see how it goes because I kind of recently just rearranged all these plants. So some of them are adjusting to some different light levels, but so far it seems happy. I just Yeah, sometimes I can underwater. This one, it's very dramatic, like the peace lily. It tends to droop when it's very thirsty. Now this one is a newer Maranta in my collection, and it's been a struggle to kind of grow this one. It's had some flat mite issues, and yeah, flat mites just really kind of inhibit growth. And this one blooms constantly. I feel like I want to take a propagation when I can. I feel like it hasn't really grown enough for me to actually take a propagation. But once it does, I'm going to propagate this one and hopefully grow out a cutting that's a little bit more healthy. But I just kind of stuck it down here. It was in my plant room, but again, I was trying to clear some space out of my plant room. So I have it right there for now. And this is another Rabbit Tracks Maranta Cruciovana, but this one is the variegated version. You can see there's a variegated leaf there and there. Now this part here is mostly reverted. This one was in my plant room. I did take some cuttings that were more variegated, and they're currently in water. I'm still on the hunt for a really variegated one of these. I have not. I have not come across one yet. So whenever I do, I'm gonna buy it immediately because I really want one that's highly variegated because I love Maranta so much. So if I ever find one locally, I'm gonna buy it. I'm just afraid of buying one online because I don't know what the variegation is gonna be when I do that, and I don't want one that's not that variegated. I want to actually be able to see it and see like a really highly variegated one. So I'm hoping to come across one in store. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. I do have some Hoyas down here on the bottom. These Hoyas were my recent like chop projects because these were the Hoyas that I had and actually in this east window over here, and they all came down with mealies. And they kept returning. I had tried like every treatment under the sun. I had repotted a lot of them, and mealies kept coming back on it. So I got really frustrated because there's like 7 different Hoyas here, and I made the decision to just take some cuttings and I tossed the rest. And so I had the cuttings callousing for probably like 3 or 4 weeks at least. I just left them in the container and they were still holding a lot of water. Some of them did get wrinkly, but I just kept putting off actually taking care of them. So I wanted to take care of these before I film this video for you guys. So they're actually all in their individual cups of stratum now. I don't really want to take all these out because they're not that rooted, so if I go to move these, they're probably going to fall out of the stratum. But yeah, you can see I potted them up. This one here is a Crimson Princess. This is all that's left of my big Crimson Princess that I had. It had flat mites and mealies, and it just did not do well. So I do want to buy another Crimson Princess because I really do like the Crimson Princess. I have the Crimson Queen here too. This one here. It's a little sticky because I used horticultural oil, so I didn't like wipe it off or anything. You can actually see the oil coming off. But yeah, I'm really sad because these Hoyas were in my collection. These are some of my older Hoyas and they were really big. Well, this one here wasn't an old Hoya. This is a Carnosa. This one had mealy so bad. Oh my gosh. So I took some cuttings and they're in stratum, and I'm going to regrow all these back. I have a very splashy Hoya pubicalix in here. Very, very splashy. And then I also have a retusa. This one was so long and it bloomed like crazy. This one was in my plant room and it attracted ants because I didn't realize all the sap was dripping on my window ledge. Very, very sappy Hoya. It does single flower blooms. I do have a Hoya shepherdii in here as well. It's just a couple strands. There it goes. Right there. It's like the string bean Hoya. I'm sad to kind of restart these Hoyas, but maybe it'll be like a fresh start for these in a way. And this one here was actually my second oldest Hoya. This one is, I was told, is supposed to be a Burton-A, like a SPAFF Burton-A. But I have had people tell me like, no, it's a Billabata, but then I purchased a Billabata, which I will show you. It's in the other room, but then I've had someone tell me that one's a Burton-A. So now I'm just confused. I don't know if they're both Billibatas or if they're both Burton-A's. I'm not really sure now. This one has bloomed for me before, since it's like one of my oldest Hoyas. And it also had ants because of the retusa here. So yeah, I just took some strands of what I could, and then I'm going to reroot them and then pot them back up, and hopefully it'll start blooming for me here. Once they actually start rooting, I'll look at potting them back up. But Yeah, I'm just keeping them isolated down here together. So these are the plants in my dining area. It just feels so much better, like the space feels so much better. And it's not as cluttered and it's more spacious. I might eventually take some plants out of my plant room, like maybe a couple more, and squeeze them over here for the summer. This is my husband's office, but I do want to show you that there is a marble queen in here. This is a cutting from my mother plant because he wanted a plant in his office. Sometimes I come in here and just like open the blinds for the plant. He mostly takes care of this. I have watered it a few times before because it's gotten really thirsty, but I love how like white this one is. It does need to be repotted, but I'm hoping he repots it with me for a video since it is like technically his plant that he cares for. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that this one is in here. So you can see our living space is pretty plant free. There's not a lot of, well, there's no plants in this living space. And it's very dark in this section because there is no windows. Like this entire section is completely dark. You can see without those lights, it would be like pitch black in that corner. So if I were to bring more plants in this space, I would definitely have to use grow lights. But I didn't want our space to feel cluttered with houseplants in a sense. And that's why I have like a dedicated plant room. And then I slowly brought a couple cabinets out and we're gonna show you those next. They're some of my favorite plants. Well, not favorite plants, but I got some new ones and I'm obsessed with them. So that new cabinet is only like a week old. It is very, very new. So yeah, I'm gonna head over there and show you that little section next, and then we'll continue on. So this little precious cabinet here is so new and I absolutely love the plants that I put in here. I just love this entire setup. I love this cabinet so much. And I did make like a dedicated video putting this together. So if you're interested, I will link that. And then I also have the little mini Acrobar cabinet right here that is also from Ikea. And I do have a video on that as well. So I will link those in the description if you are curious. Let's go ahead and do the little mini one first. I do have this one kind of vented open, as you can see, because I did have it closed. The stratum was getting a little moldy just because there wasn't enough air circulation. I don't have a fan in that little one. This is all Hoyas, by the way. There are 10 Hoyas in this cabinet, and these are newer Hoyas in my collection. I had a couple wish list Hoyas in here, and then I had a couple that were gifted, and then some more like random ones that I purchased. So this one is a Hoya multiflora. I got this one because I wanted the blooms on this one. It was just a cutting, and you can actually see it's rooting nicely in here. Some new roots. Well, it wasn't a cutting, it was a small plant that I purchased. So yeah, that one is probably gonna I'm probably gonna put all these back into like a soil mix. But yeah, I wanted this one to start growing it because I really, really, really want those blooms. So I'm excited to have this one. These two here I got because of the color of the Hoya. This is a Lacunosa. I believe this is a silver mint. And again, I got this as a very small plant, but look at that color on this Hoya. Isn't that beautiful? It's grown so much since I got it. And I have this one in stratum as well. It's definitely overdue, probably for an upsize. It's growing in a ton of new spikes, but it is such a beautiful Hoya. Seriously, one of my favorite colors, just like that cabinet. That cabinet color is so pretty. Yeah, very happy with this one. I love this one so much. This one here is so pretty. Look at the color on that one. This is a Croniana silver. I think I like this one more than the Lacunosa silver mint, just because there's something about like this deep silver color. And this one actually sun stresses a bit. Let me see if you can see in the light. It's sun stressing a little pink there. It's not super intense light. There's just one like 10-watt Barina light up here. But if I put this one in my south window, I bet you this would get really sun stressed. But yeah, I love that color so much. This one was gifted. I recently potted it into my soil mix. So this is a mini Kentiana. So it has like a dark green leaves. You can see it a little bit more in there. It's very cute and petite. I'm glad that I have it, but I don't know what the blooms look like on this one. I meant to look this one up, but yeah, this one was a gift. This was a gift as well. This one is actually a Hoya Microdorf NS12323. I think that's the name of it. It's very, very tiny, cute, petite leaves. I like the sun dressing up top that it's doing, like the orangey tones. But I don't really know anything about this Hoya either. I don't know what the blooms look like. It's so cute though. It's growing a ton since I had it. I probably got it and it was like that big. So it's grown all this in just a short amount of time. Very cute. Now this one I am excited for. This one is a Hoya IM08. I didn't know anything about this Hoya, but she sent me a cutting. I got these from the Planted Mama on Etsy. And she sent me a cutting with peduncles, and they recently started opening. I don't know if it's gonna show you. They're so fuzzy and cute. So I did recently pot this one up, so I hope it doesn't drop the rest of the peduncles. I'm hoping I didn't stress it, but it's really cute. I love the dainty leaves too. They're like round. They're really cute and petite. So I'm really excited to have that Hoya. I love the leaves or the flower blooms on that one and the leaves. For some reason, I can't think of the name of this one off the top of my head. It's one that I got because the blooms are so pretty, and I didn't realize how beautiful the leaves are on this Hoya. And they have fuzzy hairs. I don't know if you can make out the little fuzzy hairs on the leaves, if it's picking up. I love how fuzzy it is. And it has like silver markings. That's like a new leaf here coming out. But I can't wait for the blooms on this one. I bought this one for the blooms. I have several cuttings in here and they're rooting in nicely. So I'm excited to see what this one does. But yeah, I'm just happy to have this one and that it's growing well. I'm mad that I can't think of the name though, but I will put it on the screen. This one was a wishlist Hoya. This is a new Guinea Ghost and it's rooting in nicely in stratum, but look at the color of those leaves. They are so pretty. Some of the leaves closer to the light have come in a little bit more pink that you can see. But yeah, this was a wishlist Hoya. I just love the silver tones on it. It's so beautiful. I got this one from Corey as well, from the Planted Mama. The other ones I got from the Green Escape, but these are so beautiful. I love the color and the leaf shape and everything. So I'm really excited to have this one. So this one I purchased. I got this one from Corey as well. It was a wishlist Hoya. This is a Polynura. It's the Albo marginata, so the outer variegated. Look at how beautiful. I have the original Polynura in my plant room that I'll show you, but this one has the cute outer margin. It's so pretty. I love this Hoya so much. The one in my plant room has bloomed, but I don't know if the bloom on this one looks the same. I eventually want the inner variegated, but this one is so pretty. It's probably like my favorite Hoya right now. I love it so much. And this one here was a purchase from the Green Escape. It's finally rooting. These cuttings didn't really have many roots. And I don't know why the name of this one is slipping my head as well. I had several little cuttings, but they haven't really grown or done anything yet because I think it's just working on growing roots first. I love the color of this one. It's like a light green center and then a darker green on the outside. And this one's like a little half moon. But I'm really excited for this one too. I can't wait for this one to start growing. Next up is the Ikea cabinet here, and I'm going to show you all the plants, and I'm very excited to show you this cabinet. I love all these plants in here so much. So in the back, I'm going to take this one out for a second so you can see them. Now they're the same kind of plant species. They're an Alocasia Watsonia. This one here is called a light veins. And this one here is called a dark form. This one has a closed sinus as well as this one here. It looks very similar to a poly, but it's not. And I think this one might be getting ready to push a leaf. I recently moved them to pond and they're doing so well. I just cannot wait until these Alocasia get bigger. I know I'll have to move them out eventually. But I really like them in here, and yeah, I love these Alocasia. They're both newer, probably within the last several months, and I love them both. I don't think I can pick a favorite between them. So I'm just excited for them to grow. I love the veining on this one though. I don't know if you can see the veining in the light. Can you make that out? It's so pretty. I have a baby Alocasia Frydek here. Has the cutest little leaves. It's literally the size of like my finger. That new leaf coming in is so cute. It's in stratum. This was a very small corm that fell off when I repotted my big plants. So yeah, I just have this one in here because I thought it was just the perfect small little plant for in front. This one here is a Maranta light veins. This is kind of my only pot. I do have the base, but this was like the top cutting that I took, and it is rooting nicely. I am going to move this one to pond because I do have another Maranta that I want to show you in my plant room that's in pond, and it's doing so well. I love the light veins. The leaves are so pretty. Look at those. It's beautiful. I love this Maranta so much. And this one here is actually a Alocasia poly, but this one is supposed to be a pink variegated. Now you can see the variegation is very minimal. Let me take it down here. So yeah, the variegation is very, very minimal on this one. You can see a little bit there. It does have a new leaf coming in here, but I recently put this one in pond, so I'm hoping the corms will actually be variegated. I think I got about 6 corms from this plant, so I'm very, very excited to see what those are going to do. I feel like that's going to be on my wish list though, because I really want one that's highly variegated. These two here are the newest plants in my collection. This one is a variegated Alocasia pink black velvet. This is the newest leaf that it just gave me. This was a wish list plant for so long. Look at that leaf. See, I just got this plant within like the last week and I'm already obsessed with it so much. It's in soil. This is the mix that it came in, but I am going to move this to stratum temporarily, and I am going to move this to pond eventually. But this new leaf is everything. Like, look at that. It is so pretty. And then this is the other one here that I recently got. I got these both from Rare Plant Fairy. Look at this leaf. This is a variegated dragon scale. This is the Albo variegata. And this new leaf here is unfurling and it has beautiful color. Such a gorgeous alocasia. I have a regular dragon scale that I'm going to show you, but I had to have the Albo. I just love variegated plants, and alocasia is my second favorite genus. Look at that pink veining. But yeah, this leaf has so many beautiful colors. The white, mint, dark green, like the pink veins. Very beautiful. Same thing with this one. This is the original mix. I'm going to work on moving this one to stratum. I was going to wait for that leaf to harden and then, yeah, both to stratum and then to pond. That one there in the back is supposed to be a mint poly. That's another recent pond transfer. You can kind of see the leaves like that kind of pink tone on them. So that one was a pretty small corm when I got it. So I had it in stratum for a while, but again, it's a recent pond transfer. I did a recent video on that. So far all these that I transferred to pond recently are doing well. And I'm gonna show you this one because this is probably like one of my top favorite plants right now. This one is my own hybrid that I created. Can you see Delta Force similarities? So I crossed my Anthurium clarinervium and Pedato radiatum. I did this on 10/18 of October is when I harvested the berries. I pollinated them in December of 22. It took 10 months to grow the berries and I only got 3 seeds. So I potted 2 up into pond and I have some newer leaves coming in here. Oh, look at that one. That one has like even more traits. These ones are gonna get big. Look at that leaf. Oh my goodness. I'm in love, in love, in love with this Anthurium. Delta Force was on my wish list, but since I crossed my own hybrid, I know like it's not a true Delta Force, but it's gonna be similar. At least I'm glad that it's looking similar. I can see the traits and they're just so beautiful. So these are the 2 seeds, and then my other seed is actually this one down here. So this one is kind of the runt, I like to call it, out of the bunch. You know, I harvested them at the same time and the seeds were all the same, but this one is growing so much slower. And I do have another little leaf coming in finally. So this one was growing in moss and I recently put it into my aeroid mix. So I feel like it's gonna really like growing in that. So I'm excited to at least have like both of these growing in 2 separate substrates. I feel like since I only got 3 seeds, I don't want to get rid of this one. I did pollinate her again. My Clarinervium is pollinated with my Potato radiatum. So once I get berries, I will grow them out to sell them. But yes, I seriously love this Anthurium so much. It's definitely going to be a favorite of mine that I own. And it's special in the sense that I actually like created this. This is my my creation that I did. And then there in the back, this is a very tiny Monstera mint. This is a little seed off of my plant. So my plant that I got was a tissue culture, and this is, my tissue culture gave me like 9 babies. I guess the callus was left on it and it was growing a ton of offshoots. So I recently did a video on this one as well, where I propagated the main plant and then I separated all the babies. So this is one of the babies that I separated and it's in my aeroid mix. I think I'm going to keep this baby and then the rest of them are in my plant room, and I'll show you in there because I would love to have like another mint growing. I love that leaf. Look, it's like a half moon. It just unfurled. That's so pretty. Very, very pretty. I love this Monstera. So I had this little guy like right here in front. So let me show you the other 3 plants in here. This one is another alocasia. This is actually a ninja, and it's supposed to be a variegated one. You can actually see some of the original leaves there were variegated, and all the new growth has come in non-variegated. Now this one is a tissue culture as well. I love the leaf shape and everything. It's so unique and it's so pretty. This one is in my aeroid mix. I was gonna move all my alocasia to pond, but I haven't decided about this one. It seems really happy, so I might just leave this one in soil. Well, it's soil free, but you know what I mean. I was hoping more of the leaves would come in variegated, but that's okay. I know that's the chance you take with variegation. You can't really predict. Here's another alocasia in there. Now this one just gave me a newer leaf as well, and this is beautiful. Gorgeous. This one was a corm that I got last year, a very small plug, and it didn't do well for a while. I recently, well, not recently, maybe 6-8 months ago, 6-7 months ago, something like that, I put this one into pond, and it struggled for a while, but it's finally taking off, which I'm super excited about. I'll put the name of this one on the screen because I always forget the name of this one. But yeah, that color is so pretty. Look at that. Gorgeous. Alocasias are just amazing. I love them. The last big alocasia in here, let me take this one out. I feel like the light just kind of blocks. You can't really see them that well. Look at her. This one is a silver dragon. I've had this one in my collection for a really long time. It recently gave me this huge leaf, which made me fall in love with this plant all over again. And it has a little blip of sport variegation there. And look at that color, texture, tone. It is so incredibly beautiful. Did I see a new leaf coming in? Yes, I have a new leaf. I have a few corms in here, so this is like my only silver dragon plant. But yes, I love this plant so much. I love the regular dragon scale, but the silver dragon, just the color and tone. I love, 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 love this alocasia. But this new leaf like sold me. As soon as this popped out, I'm like, yes, I love you. And I love like the darker leaves too. But these are the newer ones. They're a bit lighter. Such a beautiful alocasia. It's a lot bigger compared to some of the other ones in there. And I have a lot more alocasia I'm going to show you. I have so many. I have, yeah, I have over 20, over 20 alocasias in my collection. I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer to 25 now. I have a lot of them. All right, I'm gonna get these put back into the cabinet here, and then I'm gonna quickly show you the plants. I have one there, and then I have a few that I moved out front. And then I'm going to go show you the nursery real quick and a few of my plants in there, and then we're gonna move into our plant room finally and show you the bulk of my house plants in there. So over here in the entryway, the only plant that I currently have is this sad little money tree. I did recently move it here. It was actually on the opposite wall right here on top of the shelf all like winter and last year, but I feel like it wasn't getting enough light. This is like a little slither of a window, but it's very low light. So I feel like it wasn't really doing that well because of that. So I had my snake plants here over winter, and I actually moved this money tree here now that the snake plants are back outside. And I can already tell since being here a week, I already have some new growth coming in that you can see. Some little spikes here and here and here as well. But coming around this side, you can actually see how, how many leaves were dropped on this plant just because of probably just like underwatering and then not enough light, and it was just struggling. So I feel like now that it's under some more light, I feel like it's going to grow better. But this is a new leaf here, I believe, and that one as well. So it was looking pretty bare there for a bit. I'm happy to see how it does in this spot here, and then yeah, once I have to bring the snake plants in, I'll have to move it back over here for winter, but maybe I can do some kind of clip light or something for it. Now, our front porch here is all south facing, direct sun. So here on our front porch, you can kind of see the line that the sun is right now, but it will kind of reach all the way back towards the door. So anything that I put out here has to tolerate like full direct sun. Usually the only plants I put out here are my like succulents, cacti, and snake plants, stuff like that. The ficus I did that I showed you was like over here, but yeah, like I said, it didn't do well all summer. It just got too hot, I think, out here for it. I'll start with these guys down here. This is a cactus planter I've had for several years now. This is actually the third summer with it. And I do want to maybe possibly repot it this year. I feel like it could use a refresh, and I would like to get a bigger pot for it, but it's not going to be on the top of my list because I have a lot of other plant chores to do. And the one right next to it is a succulent planter. I potted all my succulents into one pot. Some of the succulents I've had for a while, like that Haworthia there that's getting ready to bloom. And then the rest of them are rescue succulents. I got like a discounted basket at Walmart for like $5. So I actually ended up potting all of my succulents into one. That's the bloom there. So I left these out here all winter and they seem to tolerate it. This one here, this ghost cactus, got a little bit of like cold damage, you can see, but overall it did well. And I feel like they tolerated having some colder temps. We got a lot of frost here. I feel like the lowest our temperatures got was in the 20s for us this winter. My domino cactus is getting ready to bloom again. So this thing blooms in the early morning hours, and it only stays open for a few hours and then the bloom dies off. And I'll put a picture on the screen if I can find it of what the bloom looks like, but it's very beautiful. I water these probably once a week, if that. Sometimes every 2 weeks, it really depends. And sometimes they get rained on when it rains. Back here in this corner, this is actually new. I just put this out here. I didn't have this set up last year. I have a couple snake plants, and then I have one more cactus on the bottom. I bought this one because I liked the color, and then it's very pokey. Do you see how spiky that one is? I would like to get this one potted up with my other one if I do repot it, but he's just a lone little guy out there. I had him inside this winter. This one here is actually a propagation from my Sayuri or Siam Silver or Metallica snake plant. The new growth came in non-variegated, so if you do like a leaf propagation, you won't get that same coloring back, unfortunately. But I don't know if any of you remember when I took this cutting and the pup and everything grew, but yeah, that's the new growth that has come in on it. This snake plant here is called a Whitney snake plant, and I've had this one for a little while. I can't remember where I got this one at, but it has like a lighter green margin and it's dark in the center. So I had this one out here last summer and it did well. It's gonna get a little bit less light back here in the corner, but it's still like a lot of light compared to inside. These three plants here are 3 snake plants. They actually got reclassified as Dracaena, even though I call them snake plants still, Sansevieria, but technically they're Dracaena now. So this one here in the middle is actually my very oldest plant. I've had this snake plant over 10 years now, probably going on 12 this year actually. I don't remember exactly when I got it, but I do have like photos of this like back in the day. But it's the only plant that I remember getting like really early on. This one here is probably my favorite snake plant. This one is Metallica, Siam Silver, or say it right. I've seen it called all three names. I got this one at a local plant shop here a few summers ago, and it's grown a ton. It loves being outside. This one has the most beautiful color. I love all the tones. I just love that silvery color. The markings are so beautiful on this one. Look at this leaf down here. This one is very pretty. I love that so much. And then this one down here is my whale fin. So I have my original whale fin in the back, and then I have the variegated one. I love how wide the leaves are. This is the original leaf on this one. I think I got this in 21, and then I got the variegated one in 21 as well. This is the original leaf on that one. And these are all like, ooh, gosh, these are all pups. Like this is the newest pup that has grown since winter. I decided to pot them up together just to save space, but I love how wide the leaves are. I really like them. I definitely recommend. I feel like snake plants are such easygoing plants. I probably water these, like I said, once a week, maybe out here in the summer. It really depends. Sometimes it's every couple of weeks, but that's like over summer. So they're getting a lot of warm air, warm temperatures. It's very like hot. So I try not to underwater them, but yeah, sometimes they get underwatered out here, but they did so well last summer and grew so much. I had already started showing you some plants, but for some reason my my memory card messed up, so I had to like re-record this part. But yeah, most of the plants on these shelves are for my plant shop, so I'm not really going to go into detail and show you every single plant in here. I do have some plants that are mine that I am going to show you here, and then we'll get to moving on to our plant room. So up first is a philodendron pink princess. This is actually one that I got at a big box store, and I got it because it looked to be very pink. This is all actually new growth, the ones that have the most pink, but I liked the marble leaves on this one. I know these ones at the big box store are tissue cultured because a lot of the growth is coming in very weird and wonky. But I feel like it's finally stabilized. I might eventually propagate this one. I haven't decided, but since it is growing a lot of pink leaves, I want to see what it's going to continue to do. So I'm going to let this one grow out a bit, and then I haven't decided if I want to keep this one. This little guy here is a Scindapsus Trubii Moonlight. This is all that I have left of my big plant. Mine just got really sad. I think it was like rotting in combination with flat mites possibly. So I was able to save a couple wet sticks, and this is the growth that I recently potted up. This was in my perlite propagation bin. So I'm excited to at least somewhat get a plant growing back because I was really sad when that one went downhill. And then this is another one here that went downhill. This is a couple Syngonium in my collection. These are two little baby Syngonium mojitos. I had a really big plant of this, and I don't know what happened. I think I propagated it, and I don't know. All that I could salvage was a couple of wet sticks. I honestly thought they all rotted, but I was able to save two that were in my perlite bin. So I recently potted these up, so I'm hoping that I can get somewhat of a plant growing back. And same with this Syngonium as well. This is a Syngonium aria. I love this new leaf that it just gave me. This one was, I guess, a propagation, so I'm going to pot this up and grow this one out. I really like the aria. I have the albo that I'm going to show you. It's in my plant room on a moss pole, but I was sad. I don't know what happened with this one. I think it was just I neglected it and it was growing weird, and I decided to cut it back. I do have a couple more wet sticks of this one that I'll probably get rid of, but this is like my main plant now that I'll keep and grow back. This one here is another basket of just sienna pothos. I potted some propagations up probably a few months ago. I want to grow another basket so that I can use it to propagate more cuttings for the shop. So once this one grows a bit more, I'll take some top cuts and root those and get rid of them. But yeah, I want this one to kind of fill in nicely so that I can use it for propagations. But I love some of these newer leaves that have come in. And the same thing with this one over here. This is a Mandula pothos. I have a big one. Well, not too big yet, but I have one on a moss pole. But this is one that I want to propagate and grow out for the shop. These are some new leaves it gave me recently. Look how beautiful. I seriously love Mandula. They are just the prettiest plants. Pothos epipremnum, they're just so beautiful and so easygoing. This one's actually in tree fern. I wanted to test this one out. It is pretty dry, so I need to water it actually, but I really like the I really like this plant. So once it grows a bit more, I'll take some cuttings. This next one, let me move this plant. This is a philodendron I've had in my collection for a really, really long time. It's a philodendron mame, and I've struggled with this plant. So this one is a crawler. I've had it in a long pot for a while, and it just started yellowing all of a sudden. It had spider mites. I've rehabbed this a couple of times. It's dealt with root rot. So I finally took a chunk and I rerooted it. It's in stratum and it's been ready to pot up for a while. You can tell that it wants to start crawling, so I need to get it in a long pot. But I really loved this philodendron. I think I got this one in 2020, and I really liked the petiole. It's got some ruffles here. I don't know if you can see the ruffles. It's so cool. So I really liked that on this plant. So hopefully, like, I don't know how many times I've grown this one. Maybe this will be the fourth time. Fourth time's a charm with that one. So yeah, I'm gonna move it to pond. I have a few other crawlers that I've struggled with. I don't do well with crawlers, so I'm gonna move them all to pond and see if I can grow them. And this one over here is a Anthurium crystallinum. This one is a rehab. I think this was actually my very first Anthurium that I had in my collection. This one in my Forgetii. And this one apparently suffered some root rot last year, and I tried to rehab it and it continued to rot. So I cut the chunk away and stuck it in water, and it has now rerooted. I've neglected this one recently. It's been in water for quite some time. So I do want to move this one to pond here. I just have to get that done, but I have some new leaves kind of coming in here. So I do have another crystallinum. It's a silver I got as like a small plant that I'm going to show you, but yeah, I really like the crystallinum. I feel like it's just a classic plant. So hopefully that one I can pot up into pond soon and get it growing back. Here's a couple other of my plants that I have in here right now. I have a Monstera Peru cutting in water. I have some more up top that I'll show you. And then these two pots here, this was an import plant. This is a Monstera adansonii, but it's supposed to be an aria, and it's mostly reverted. I've cut this plant back a couple of times now. You can see some of the leaves have some variegation there. It's very minimal. And a lot of the new growth has come in like mostly reverted. So I don't know what this one's gonna do. I'm hoping I get some like yellow to come back in, some of the variegation, but we'll see. I have this one in soil, and then I have a ton of like wet sticks and propagations in there. So I was gonna try and grow a plant out if I can get some color to come back. So I don't know, I don't have high hopes for that having much variegation, but I'll see how it goes. So most of these plants up here are my propagations for my shop. So when I chop moss poles or take cuttings, or if I cross anthuriums and have a ton of seedlings, I have like a whole cart of seedlings over there and lots of water props and everything. So I grow them out, and once they are like happy plants growing in, like with the new growth, and I look at listing them on my site. So I have a lot of props here. I wouldn't be surprised if I have over 200, probably more. I have over 250 seedlings left probably. So there's probably like at least 400 plants here, but I'm not really counting these as like plants in my collection. But if you want to get into specifics, I have a ton of plants in this little section. I have a lot of alocasia corms there on the bottom. So I'm using these glass containers because the cats sometimes come in here and I don't want them getting into anything on the bottom shelf. So I'm using those little seedling domes, and then once they get big, I move them into the bigger trays. And then once they grow and establish a bit more, I'll move them out of like higher humidity and then let them kind of stabilize for a couple weeks. I have a perlite propagation bin down there. I recently redid that. And then I have a couple more of my plants up top that I want to show you. Over here, I want to show you a pot of Monstera albo. This one is actually growing in pond, and these were cuttings that I took in December. So I had about 30 or 40 propagations of Monstera albo and aria when I had to restart mine over because of some rot, and I had chopped mine back and I had gotten rid of pretty much all the cuttings. These ones were the ones that were left that were growing more white. So what I did was put them all in a container of pond, and you can see a lot of the growth is still coming in, a lot of white, which is very sad, unfortunately. I got some leaves to come in with some green, but there's still majority of them are white. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with this pot. I'm gonna let it grow out, and hopefully in the future, as more leaves grow, I can get some more green to come in. But yeah, I just have a very white pot of albo there. I just kind of have it sitting here because I didn't have a spot in my plant room for it. And up top here, I have another Monstera albo. I recently put this one in here. It was actually in my plant room, but I didn't have any room for it. So this one I am going to let go. I'm going to actually propagate this one for the shop. This will be like my propagating albo. And it's done a ton of leaves within like a few months, I feel like, since I potted it up. So yeah, once it grows a bit more, I'll take I'll take a top cut and then several mid cuts, and then I'll grow them out. And then once they actually root and grow and have new growth coming in, then I'll look at listing those for sale. And the plants in that container up there were some of my like other plants. I have a couple alocasia corms off of my mother plant, and then I have like some more Monstera Peru water props. I have some Maranta cuttings and the bottom cut of my light veins Maranta in here. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with those just yet. They were just like extra stuff that I didn't have room for, so they're just like hanging out up there. Oh, and I do have like a heartleaf philodendron there as well. And this one here is like a sad plant of mine that is most likely just not going to make it. I have a dedicated video on this plant, but this is my variegated Monstera adansonii, and unfortunately all the growth started coming in white. So I made a video where I chopped the plant completely back, and a couple of the wet sticks rotted and didn't make it, and then the cuttings is what this is here. And all the cuttings, the original leaves, have now died, and all the new growth has come in mostly white. This bit of green is a little bit of a propagation that I potted in off of my regular Monstera adansonii. Someone suggested I do that to see if that would help promote some green to come in, so I'm gonna see what happens. A lot of the growth has already started browning just because it's all white. So I don't really see any green coming in on this plant. So unfortunately, I think this one isn't going to do well. It's just a shame. I really wanted this plant. It had half moon leaves when I got it, and it was a beautiful Monstera adansonii, the albo variegated, but yeah. I have heard of these either reverting or growing all white, which is very unfortunate. So I'm just kind of hanging on to it. I don't really have high hopes that it's going to do much of anything, but I'm just kind of leaving it there, and I'll see what happens. And then my only other plants in this room is actually these three right here. I have 3 Hoya baskets and then one more little air plant here. I don't know the name of this air plant. I found this cute little setup with that air plant in a plant shop in St. Augustine, Florida. I just thought this whole thing was so cute, so I bought that as is. And I don't know what kind of air plant this one is, but it's really cute. I had that in my plant room, but I recently moved it in here. And the 3 Hoya baskets that I have in here are a Hoya Wayetii. This is a Lacunosa snow caps. This is the one that I purchased as a bilobata, but I have heard someone say it was a Burtonay, so I'm not really sure. This one has longer leaves, which I thought the bilobata had longer leaves, and my other one is a Burtonay. And this Lacunosa snow caps here has started blooming again. I have a regular Lacunosa in my plant room that I'll show you, but the snow caps is supposed to have like some variegated leaves. It's very minimal. Has like some silver on there. But yeah, this one has lots of peduncles here coming in. It hasn't bloomed quite as much as my regular Lacunosa, but I feel like it's still establishing. I recently like potted all these up, so I think they've taken a little bit to kind of grow and establish some. Yes, this one has bloomed already, the bilobata. There's a couple peduncles here. And this is a Wayetii. This one has not bloomed yet, but it's very long. It's grown a ton. I do believe I found all these at the big box store, yes, because they were still in their original Costa pots. I hadn't repotted them yet. So I did finally like take the time to repot them and give them a soil refresh, and they all did so well. I do have a video on doing this whole entire setup. I have like a curtain rod up top there with them. They get kind of low light here, but it's not like a ton of light coming in, but I feel like for the most part they're happy and they continue to grow being in this spot. Now we are heading in to our plant room. All the lights are on in here now. I know earlier it was a bit more dark. And we have a lot of plants to go through in here, you guys. A lot of plants. Kind of just give you another look around, especially with some of these huge, impressive moss poles. Here's our cabinet view. And then, yeah, we have another big shelf behind us. So yeah, we have a lot to go through in here. I think I might just start on this side of the room. I think I'll start with the cabinet first, and then we'll save our big moss poles for last, because yeah, I do want to kind of bring some out so you can see them more in their entirety, but I also don't want to go moving a ton because it's a lot of work to move them. But let me start here and we'll work our way around. So this is the Ikea MILSBO tall. I've had this Ikea cabinet the longest and I love it. I think eventually want to reconfigure the inside and get the acrylic shelves in here, but it's done really well. This is now, I think I've had this for 2 years and I love having the cabinet. I love the aesthetics of it. So up top on the cabinet are 2 Anthurium pallidiflorums. And these were both gifted to me and I'm so grateful for it. This is a new leaf that came out on this one here. I got a little damage. I think I may have accidentally slammed it in the cabinet door. It has 1, 2, 3, 5 leaves on this one. And these are both in the original mix that they came in. And this one here is actually the newest leaf. It's still kind of hardening. It's very fresh. This is the bigger one, and I got this one from Taz Otaku Plants on Etsy. She sent me this one, and that one's in its original mix, and you can see all the roots in there. This is probably like one of my top other favorite anthuriums because it's so beautiful, and I just love the look of strappy anthuriums. And the light up top is a clip light, and it's providing some extra light for those plants. I do have some like surrounding grow lights, and then of course this big south window here in front, but the light coming from the Ikea cabinet on top itself isn't a ton of light, so I definitely am glad that I have that clip light up there because it definitely keeps them happy and growing well. Let's open her up. Not like damaging. I have to like be careful. I really only open this cabinet up a couple of times a week, but I just have to be careful with the new leaves coming in. We have 3 shelves in here, and the top shelf I have 3 plants. I have my Clarinervium, which is one of my older anthuriums. This I believe is a newer leaf that came out. I love the Clarinervium. Look at how beautiful she is. And I have several leaves on her. And then the inflow that's pollinated is actually right here. And then I have another inflow that is just now kind of pushing out right there. So since the one is pollinated, I don't want anything to happen with that one. So I'll probably just collect the pollen from that other inflow and then cut it off. This beautiful anthurium here is a Anthurium warocquiana, but this is the Esmeralda. And look at this huge leaf she gave me. It is insane how big this leaf is. And she has a few others in the back. I have an inflow there that is aborting. I do have some pollen stored for her, but I'll probably try and self-pollinate her eventually. And she is currently living in pond. The other Clarinervium is living in a soil mix. She has really loved being in pond, and like obviously she's responding really well because she gave me this humongo leaf. I mean, it's a pretty huge leaf. I know it's hard to tell, but it's literally taking up the entire front of the cabinet. And next to this anthurium is my Mandula pothos. Let me actually take this one down so you can actually see a little bit better. And look at how beautiful. So I have this one growing on a medium grow pole by Thiccly, and she is nearing the top of the pole and the very top of the cabinet. I will have to move her out very soon. Look at some of these bigger leaves coming in. Like, look at the color on that, especially the mint there, like so beautiful. And they are starting to size up nicely, I feel like. I know they're not overly big yet by any means, but she's getting there. It's a beautiful plant. I can't wait to get bigger leaves on this one. In the middle row, we have a couple of crawler philodendrons that are living in stratum, but I will be moving those to pond. I have an allocation Michelitziana from my mother plant. That one is in soil. And then I also have a anthurium. 3 of my seedlings that I pollinated, I put them into pond recently. I have them together in a container. This one is in soil still, and I don't really want to grow this one in soil anymore, so I will be looking at probably letting that one go. This philodendron is a crawler. This one has a beautiful color. This is a SP Columbia Silver, and this one is, like I said, a crawler, and it has a new leaf here. Look how cute that new leaf is. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Stunning. I love the red petiole. Very beautiful plant. But actually mine looks like it wants to climb. So this it looks like it's growing to be similar like the philodendron El Choco Red that I'm going to show you there. So mine is like wanting to go up, which is kind of nice. That way I can just put it into a pot and then maybe provide some climbing support. But this one has made a huge comeback. I'm very happy that this one has come back. I'll leave these 3 in here. This is all Philodendron gloriosum. I have a total of 3 pots in here. They're all in stratum. This is the same Philodendron gloriosum that I've had for a really long time. I struggled with this plant. It had root rot. I've rehabbed it multiple times. It had thrips a couple summers ago, and I made the decision to propagate it again and put it in stratum and regrow it, and then I'm going to move it to pond. Now, since I do have 3 cups, I have several cuttings. I don't think I need all of these. So I'll probably take a couple to do in a longer pot of pond and then look at probably getting rid of the other one. I know there's like a zebra version now, but this is just the regular gloriosum, but I really like this plant. And this here, this anthurium is my little hybrid seedlings that I crossed, Anthurium crystallinum and magnificum. So this is a hybrid. And yeah, I grew this from seed, and then there's 3 babies that I potted up into this in pond. So yeah, it's gonna look like the original mother plant. The mother plant had a bit of a setback. I'll show you her in a second. So this one's been living in pond for probably like a month, but it's doing really well. Here on the bottom shelf, this bottom shelf doesn't have a lot of room. It's mostly like my rehab / baby plant shelf. So let me start over here. These 2 anthuriums in the front were gifted. These were gifted from the Planted Mama on Etsy. So this one here is a red crystal and Ralph Linum pap. And I'm not familiar with this anthurium. It's still like a really baby seedling, but I'm excited to see what it matures into. I feel like the leaves are really pretty on this one. I recently potted these up into my aeroid mix, so I'm excited to see what that looks like in like another year from now. And this one over here is a pap times, I don't know how to pronounce this one. This is a Cerro Campanense. This one I really like because it has like a pink hue to it. So the stems are pink, which I really like. You can see there. And then there's also like a pink hue to the leaves. It's like an orangey pink color. I don't know, it's really pretty. That's a new leaf here too. I really love the shape and everything, so I'm really excited to have this one and see what it grows into. I'm really happy to have these. She was very nice to send these to me. This one here is a bit of a rehab. This is an anthurium that was imported. It was sent over the summer from, I believe this is from Aeroid Market. And this is an anthurium vitterifolum, I believe, but it's the variegated. And I recently put it into stratum. It was in pond and it just would not grow. And the whole thing was rotting. I think it was just still struggling from being imported. Once it grows back some healthy roots in stratum, I'll get it potted back up into pond, but I'm really excited to have this one. It's just the leaves are kind of sad and yellow looking right now, so hopefully it bounces back here. I feel like it's gonna do fine in rehab vine. This beautiful anthurium here is an Ace of Spades. This is actually a tissue culture, and I have a few leaves on it there, you can see. This is the newest one. It is very beautiful. I love the shape and everything of this one. So I got this from Orange Lake Nursery as a little tissue culture, and it's done so well. It's in my aeroid mix, and you can see like all the healthy roots in there. So beautiful anthurium. I'm excited to see this one grow more. I've always wanted an Ace of Spades, so that's why I purchased this one. I just think the dark leaves and everything are so beautiful. on the Syntherium, so I'm excited to see that one. This little guy in the front is a variegated Micans. This is the Aria. And this one reverted, so I propagated it, and it looks like the newer leaf maybe is reverted. It's so slow, it will not grow. It was imported over the summer from the same place, and it had some nice variegated leaves, but they unfortunately like yellowed off, and the new growth was coming in reverted. So I propagated what I could, and I do have like another growth coming in here on this one. So I'm hoping that I can get some variegation to come in. This one was a nice leaf, but then this one looks to be reverted, which is very sad. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and make the decision to buy one that's more variegated, because I really love the variegated Micans Aria. It was like a wish list plant, and I was excited to get one through the import process. But yeah, this one is just, the genes aren't really there, but who knows, maybe the next leaf after this will be variegated. I'm not giving up on it or anything, but I'm just kind of wanting one that's more variegated. Look how maroony this leaf looks too from the light, I guess. It's like a purple, pink purple almost. It's so pretty. I have two seeds here. These are Ace of Spades times Forgetii. They're baby seeds that were gifted to me. So it has like its first little leaf in here. So once they grow and establish, I'll probably let one of these go. The other one I accidentally ripped the leaf off. Whoops. These three here, these are Alocasia Fridex. Now these were from my variegated mother plant, but these two corms are growing in mostly green. They're like reverted, and that's why I don't like to sell corms. So I was keeping them in my cabinet to see if they could grow in some variegated leaves here. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with them. If they're just like completely reverted, then I'll sell them as like Michelitziana, but I'm probably going to have to move these out of stratum though, because I feel like they've been in here a little while. Yeah, they have been in here a while. I have underwatered them quite a bit, so it's kind of set them back, but just like minimal variegation. And this is another corm that's variegated. It's just, it was a baby corm that came off, so the smaller corms kind of struggle just because they are so little. So once that grows more, I will get rid of this one. But I just have him in my cabinet for now, getting like really good conditions. These other two plants back here are rehabs. They both rotted. This one was imported. This is a philodendron tortum, and I had like repotted it and everything. I thought it grew like enough healthy roots to go ahead and pot up, but I guess it didn't like the transition from perlite to soil. So once it grows enough healthy roots back, I will pot it up. But I feel like it's definitely taken a bit of a hit. It's a little bit slow to grow in some roots, but I feel like it still looks perky and doing okay. So hopefully that one does better here in some time, because I really wanted a philodendron tortum. And this one is a philodendron gigas. This is one that I got from the Green Escape on Etsy, and it was a decent sized plant. I had like repotted it and put it on a pole, and then it immediately shocked and rotted. So it is finally growing in some healthy roots and some new leaves. So I'm going to get this one potted up. Probably once this new leaf emerges, I'm going to go ahead and get it potted up and back on a pole. I just feel like maybe the root system wasn't healthy. It definitely shocked. But I really like the gigas. I have a Milano that I'm going to show you, but I'm hoping the gigas does okay. So that is the IKEA cabinet and everyone that is currently living in here. The back shelf is next. We're going to go through all the plants on this entire shelf here. I have a couple kind of onto the floor just because they've outgrown the shelf, but yeah, after this video I am going to be doing a lot of propagating. I have a lot of like moss pole chops to do. That one is all the way up to the ceiling. I have a lot of overgrown plants, so I'm excited to start propagating, but I wanted to make sure that I could show you all these plants in full before I decide to chop some of them. So over here in the corner, this big plant is stuffed back here. This is a big philodendron Burl Marks variegata. Now a lot of mine has reverted, but it still gives me a lot of leaves that have variegation on it. Right here. This thing is massive. I don't know if you can kind of tell from it just being in this corner, but it's gotten huge. I do want to propagate this thing because it is overgrown and It's back in this corner so it doesn't get the best light, but I think I want to take a cutting for me and probably chop up the rest of this plant, honestly, because it's just huge and overgrown. It's kind of one that I've fallen out of love with, but I'll probably end up propagating this soon. So in this cubby hole, it's mostly, I think I have 4 Hoyas, and then I have a tiny rehab string of dolphins. So all these Hoyas, minus the one in the middle, are imports, so I didn't get to pick these Hoyas. I honestly am not too big of a fan of these Hoyas, so I might propagate them and look at getting rid of them in the future. This one here, I believe, is a undulata red. I had taken a propagation, but I sold it already. So once this one actually grows, I'll probably look at maybe getting rid of this one. I'm not sure. This one here is a macrophylla red, and mine is kind of more green because it's not as sun stressed, but it is growing some new leaves ever since I got it from an import. And it has like a long peduncle now, or not peduncle, but a stem here. So it should be growing some more leaves in some time. I do have the latifolia now that I showed you at the beginning, so I don't know if I want this one or not, but we'll see. This one in the middle is a Hoya carrii splash. You can see the splashy leaves in the heart shape, and it has a really, really long stem. It goes like all the way. I do have some little baby leaves, I think, forming like right here, so it should start growing in some new bigger leaves. So yeah, this one started from a cutting. I did propagate this at one point, but it is growing in nicely. I think it's cute. It's my only carrii that I have, so I do really like it, but I probably won't get any more of them, but I'm happy with this one. I like how splashy mine is. That Hoya in the back is another import. It starts with an R. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. It's done really well since the import. I have like a long runner there too. But again, I'm not sure it's one that I want to keep in my collection. And this little string of dolphins is a rehab because mine came down with mealies. It was in my window and I didn't notice it was covered in mealies. I think the dolphins are so cute. Look at the little dolphin leaves. Isn't that cute? Like, come on. I did notice actually another little cutting there or something coming up. So it doesn't have any more mealies, thank goodness. I was sad about that because I really wanted a dolphins for so long, and after about a year of looking, I finally came across one at my big box store, and then when it had mealies, I like saved a couple cuttings because I just couldn't deal with them after the whole Hoya debacle with them. So all the strands died except for this one. So I'm happy at least I have one little cutting that survived. So yeah, once that grows a bit more, I might look at propagating it so that I can fill my pot back out. I'll go ahead and do this one here on the floor. This is a philodendron giganteum blizzard variegated. I have 2 plants in here. I'm probably going to separate that out and just keep the smaller plant. This one is very pretty. It has like beautiful variegation. It's too big for the shelf now, so I have it down here on the floor. This one I grew from tissue culture. I really like it, but yeah, some of these plants get huge and it's like a space issue. So sometimes I like my small petite plants, and when they get really big, although I love my big plants, it's just I can't have too many big plants, so I'd rather keep some smaller. This one here is a Syngonium milk confetti, and I'm probably gonna let this one go as well. I think there's 2 plants in here. This was another tissue culture. And I have some pretty leaves here that have some pink on it, but again, I'm not really in love with this Syngonium. I keep underwatering it a lot, and I might just look at letting this one go because I like my other Syngoniums a bit better, and I probably won't get any more Syngonium, at least not like the normal arrowhead shape. There's a Syngonium chia pence variegated that I was looking at that I kind of might want now. But yeah, this one isn't my favorite or anything, so yeah, I'll probably look at letting this one go. Moving up to this shelf, we have a few plants here on this one. This is a philodendron micans, but it's the halo variegated. Let me see if I can show you one of the halo leaves. So it has like the white variegation there on the end. And mine kind of reverts and does all kinds of crazy stuff. There's a pretty leaf there. It's a cool, unique leaf shape compared to the regular micans. And I've sold a lot of propagations off of this one. I'll probably propagate this one again here eventually, but some of the leaves are really pretty on it. This one here is a variegated Monstera Peru. Now this one was imported, so I have it currently in pon, and so far so good. I did chop a runner off, which it's activating new growth right here. These plants are known to run. I do have variegation on all the leaves. It's just these leaves are newer, so the variegation takes a while to fully harden and develop, and then they kind of fade into a more prominent like yellow variegation. I had one of these a long time ago and mine unfortunately didn't make it, so this is my second go at one. I'll see how it grows here. If it continues to give me runners, I'll chop it off, but I kind of want to do some kind of a situation for that. I don't know, maybe I'll add like a clear support or something in there for it, but I don't know, I'll probably redo this plant here at some point. And this one here is a philodendron. I think it's a violin variegated. I don't know why these newer leaves came in so funky. It's like they got stuck in the caterpillar, and you can see where it got stuck with that coloring, because these were some of the original leaves and they were variegated, but then it's having some weird like getting stuck issues. This was an import. I didn't pick this plant, so I don't feel like I want to keep this one. I do want to propagate this, but we'll see. I don't really like the way that it's growing like this, so I'll probably at least take a cutting and maybe like regrow the bottom part and see what kind of growth the cuttings give me. Yeah, I'm not like super in love with this plant or anything, and since it's one that I didn't actually pick myself, I probably wouldn't have bought it, you know, if it wasn't like a gifted import or anything. So yeah, this will probably be one that I chop back. Moving to the shelf here, I have a couple alocasia, and then there in the back I have a Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, and I can't take that one down unfortunately because it's actually growing onto the wall. Like all the aerial roots are stuck on it. It's so funny. So I kind of have it climbing. It's a bit of a slow grower right now. I have it in just one pot there, and then I have a couple of vines that are kind of growing. I'll probably let it continue to climb the wall, but I feel like it could probably use a little bit more light, honestly. Now this alocasia here, I don't know what is going on with this alocasia. So this is supposed to be a Mickey Mouse alocasia. It's very interesting. Like, look at the way that the leaf is. It's like almost peeling off. It's like ruffles. And it's got some like browning and crisping, and this one here is a newer leaf. I got this as a little plant and I've struggled with it, so I put it into pon, but it's got these really long stems now, so I'm not really in love with this one. I'm thinking I might take this one out of pon and put it in soil and let it grow outside for the summer. Maybe it'll be like an outside plant, but yeah, it's just so funky. Like, look at that. I don't know, it's just like, it's so weird. It's like some kind of, I don't know if that's normal or not. Like, I knew it was like variegated, like that's flat right here, but this is like raised. I don't know, it's so weird. I don't know. I don't know if that's normal, but that's what that thing is doing. This one here is my big Alocasia caprea. I currently have it in water right now. This is one that I'm going to transition to pon. I've had it in water for a while, like probably a couple months now. I just haven't made the transfer to pon yet. This one was in soil, and then it came down with some kind of weird fungal issue, and the whole thing died back minus one leaf. And then the last 3 growths on it have been flower blooms that I cut off. I love the caprea. I think these huge leaves are so cool. They're like alien-ish. Yeah, it's a really cool alocasia, so I'm excited to finally get it moved over to pon. This next shelf here, I have 3 anthuriums, and this one on the end is, look at this huge leaf. Like, that's pretty big. Isn't that crazy? This one was actually a gift. This is a hybrid cross from somebody on Instagram. Her name is Jonah, and I don't know, she might still be selling these on her Etsy. Uh-oh, that's not a fungal issue, is it? But this is a massive leaf it just gave me. So yeah, you can actually see it in its entirety now. So that's the big leaf, and then there's another big one here in the back. Look at that. So this hybrid is a Fergitii and Doriakii. So that's what she crossed to create this. There was one of the leaves that was, so this is the sinus that's closed, and then some of the sinuses were not closed, like this one here isn't closed. I love Fergitii, so it's cool to have, like, you can see the Fergitii, but then you can see the Doriakii in here too. But this leaf is huge. I have it in pon. A lot of my anthuriums and alocasia are growing in pon. But this thing is massive, such a huge leaf. It's a cool hybrid. She was really sweet to gift this to me. Very beautiful. This is the crystallinum I was talking about. This is a crystallinum silver, I believe. This one's a little bit of a rehab project because it kind of struggled a bit. I moved it to pon and then it kind of took a bit of a hit. So I only have 2 leaves left on it. So I feel like once it kind of stabilizes in pon, it should give me some new growth, but it kind of had a little bit of a setback. So it's kind of there in the back here. And this one here is my OG Forgetii. I actually have another inflow coming in. It's been a while. This plant was one of my first anthuriums. I love Forgetii. I think the leaf shape and everything is so cool on this one. Look at that. So that's the first leaf that it gave me. This was the second leaf that it gave me. And it has a new one here currently that's getting a little squished. These are all like not the original leaves. I had this plant growing really well all last year, but it's another anthurium that was rotting. So I have it in pon now after it's grown back, and it really likes being in pon. So I'm really excited to have this one growing back again because yeah, I really like this anthurium. I think the veining on this one is so cool. So once I get some pollen, I'll probably collect this one. So this one here is a Philodendron Pink Princess, another one in my collection. Let me move this one down so you can see it a bit more. So this one here I have growing in pon. This is Lechuza pon. This was a cutting I took off of one of my plants, and it has some nice variegation, and then some of it is coming in more of like a burgundy. But I will say this one seems to really like being in pon. This one isn't as pink, so I'm not as much in love with this one. So I do think this is going to be the one that I'm going to chop back. I feel like if I chop it, I feel like I would get some growth that comes in more pink, because this one, again, it does have good genes. This one came from like my highly variegated one. So I'll probably let the other one grow out and chop this one back. But yeah, this one's doing really well in pon. Next up is this Carnivorous, like little open bog terrarium type situation. This is probably, this is pretty new. It's only, I don't think this is even 2 months old. I recently discovered like some carnivorous plants, and it was a fun little project for me to do, honestly. I had so much fun with this. I do have a video on my channel. So I have 3 pinks here in the front. They were really pink when I got them, but since they're under lower light, they kind of reverted to green. And then I have 3 sundews, and then I put a jewel orchid in the back, and then I had one more pink that's slowly dying back there. It was a bit of a rehab, and I actually have a bloom opening up on this sundew. Look at that. That is so cute. Little purple flower. And this sundew over here, this, I think Drosera, had some yellow blooms, but then there's like a spike coming up. It looks like it's gonna have some pink blooms. That's so cool. It's actually caught some random fungus gnats that you can see that were flying around. It's very sappy. This one in the middle, this Drosera, is very sappy. It's grown a lot, but I'm excited that it's happy in here and it's catching some random gnats that are flying around. Yeah, I'll link my video I did on this down below because I went into a lot more details. But this one here in the middle is kind of my favorite now, just because, yeah, I love how sappy and all the dewdrops and everything. And it's definitely, I feel like if you have random gnats, this one would be a good one to get because it is collecting them like crazy. I have an alocasia that is huge. I'm going to show you. And then I have a couple philodendron. Let me take them down because it'll be easier to show you what they look like if I can take them down. This is a alocasia tanderosa or Jacqueline. Look at the huge leaf. Like, this is my hand. What the heck? This leaf is humongous. And it's actually growing in another leaf here in the middle. Right here, and this one is yellowing a bit. This one was lacking nutrients. I have it in pon, and I kind of added and fed it better, added some better nutrients, and it popped out and rewarded me with this humongous leaf. This one is so cool. I love this alocasia. Can you see all the fuzzy hairs on it? It's so cool. Very impressive alocasia. It's humongous, and look at that underside. Oh, it's so cool. It is a huge, huge leaf. That one back there, I'll leave back there, but this is a philodendron silver stripe. That's what the leaves look like. It's different than the Brazil because it has like a creamy center, and it has like another green stripe down the middle. This one I had in a trailing basket, but I decided to go ahead and put it on a moss pole. And then it was climbing well, and then yeah, I've kind of neglected it a bit. A lot of the growth at the top started reverting to more green as it climbed, which was interesting. So although I do really like this one, I'm not sure what my plan is with it. It's definitely overgrown. So I think I do want to eventually like propagate this one. This next one here is a philodendron. And this one is really cool. This is a serpens. I don't really see this one as much, but look at this leaf shape. Look how cool that is. The best part about this plant is the extremely fuzzy petioles. Look how cool. It's so cool. Oh no, did that rip? That new leaf might have ripped a little bit. Oh no. So I have a few leaves. It kind of had a fungal infection when I first got it, so I had to reroot it and grow it and everything. But it really seems happier now, and I'm excited to see this plant grow more. I just think this leaf shape and everything is so cool. It's such a cool plant. I have it on any of the clear poles that you see are Thiccly brand poles, and then any of the other poles that are on wire are ones that I like hand make. Next up is my impressive philodendron El Choco Red. I don't know if it's Choco or Choco. I say Choco. And it gave me this huge leaf. This is the latest one. It is incredibly impressive how big this leaf is. So I currently have, gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the 7th leaf. It is insane. It is currently living in Lechuza Pond. And I love the petiole and everything. There's a new leaf behind the caterpillar here. I just don't like removing them when they're wet, when they're like juicy, because they're really wet. So once this dries, I'll remove that, and then there's another new leaf behind here. But I think the petiole is really cool. It's like, I don't know how to describe that. It's kind of rough feeling, but it looks so cool. And the backside is a red color. They do kind of lose the red backs as they mature, but you can kind of see it a little bit on that leaf. Big leaf, look at that compared to me. Like, she's massive. She's massive. I love her so much, but this leaf is actually insane. Like, it's insane compared to my head. This is Monstera obliqua. Now, I did chop my Monstera obliqua probably a couple months ago. It was growing some runners, and then it also had a lot of yellowing. So I attributed that to like some kind of nutrient issue. So this was like the very top of the pole from when I chopped it last. And then this here is like new growth coming in. So the newer leaves and everything seem a lot happier. This one is known to run a lot and throw runners, but I really think it's a cool plant. I like Monstera obliqua. So yeah, next time I get runners, I just chop them off. It looks like this vine here might be giving me a runner, so I'll probably end up chopping that. But yeah, once you get a runner, chop it off so it doesn't continue to run. And then usually after you chop it, it puts out a leaf next. This next one I brought down is a philodendron ring of fire. And I got this one locally last year, and those are some of the original bottom leaves. And I feel like it's grown pretty steadily since. I like that this one has shorter internodal spacing. At least it appears to be growing that way. So even though it's growing big, it's not taking up a lot of space on the pole. I feel like mine was giving me some like random pink on it as well. But yeah, it definitely fades, I feel like, as the leaf hardens off. But it's such a cool philodendron. I'm glad I got it. I love the leaf shape. I think it's so unique. I love the little flamey spikes. It looks like I have a new leaf coming in. So yeah, I really like this guy a lot. It's done well since I've had it. Pretty easygoing. And these two up here on the shelf, I'm not going to take down just because they are kind of big, and the Florida Ghost here is probably going to fall over if I take it down. This one is a philodendron Florida Ghost, and a lot of the newer growth, you can see how long the petioles have stretched. So it's extremely long. I have a leaf, the newest one is all the way back there. That's a new one. It's gotten like really big leaves. They're beautiful leaves though, like look at that. I love the tone and everything. So these are known to come in more vibrant and then they fade to a darker green over time. Mine actually started out growing minty leaves, which these ones here are my favorite. Like this color here is to die for. I think that is just so pretty. These leaves are perfect. Sometimes they grow all white and then sometimes they fade to a more darker green like this here. But some of the newer ones are kind of more of like a yellow tint in a way. See how like more yellow it is? It's very interesting. It's a huge plant. Like mine has gotten huge. I do think I want to chop it just because I kind of want to restart some of this growth that's more minty on the bottom. I'm really wanting to get that back, but I don't know. It has grown a lot, so I don't know if I want to chop this one just yet, but we'll see. The Philodendron Florida Beauty right here, that's done the same thing. This one I am going to chop just because it's gotten extremely long. I know it's really hard to make her out, but I love some of these leaves here that are more variegated. Like that's beautiful. But these newer ones, like look how long that has stretched out. That is crazy. It's like, that is at least 2 feet of a stretch. Like that leaf here is very beautiful. And then the newest one here is actually, look how long that is. It's actually all green. These are known to revert pretty easily. I did have one before this one that reverted, unfortunately. And even after chopping it to try and promote more variegation, it still reverted. Like everything came back in all green. So this one here is my favorite leaf, actually. This is really pretty. I like that one. I think what I'm going to do with the Florida Beauty is chop this one and restart one of the leaves, and then I'm probably going to chop up and sell the rest just because it is overgrown. The plant in the back is extremely tall and overgrown. So I had moss in this pole up until like right there, and then the rest of it has just kind of grown off the pole. This one is a variegated Heteroraceum or heartleaf philodendron. I love the variegation. It's very beautiful. I love the variegated heartleaf. Some of mine have gotten some huge leaves up top. You can see it's just massive. It's grown so much. And some of the newer ones come in with like a pinky tone. This one is definitely going to be one of my next chop projects for sure. I'm probably going to take a few cuttings and restart on a pole for like my own plant, and then the rest of it I'm going to chop up to propagate, because yeah, it's just overgrown at this point. It's just gotten too big. The last two plants on this shelf area is on the bottom here. So in the back, it's kind of hard to see. This is a philodendron white knight, and mine has gotten huge. Holy cow. It's gotten so thick. All the leaves kind of come, I know the Florida Beauty's in the way, but you can kind of see it like that in the back. And it's overgrown way past the top of the pole. A lot of the white parts have browned on mine. I don't really like the white knight as much as the pink princess. I think I'm going to completely chop this up to get rid of it. This was like a random purchase I did at the big box store. I found it. Mine isn't that variegated, so maybe eventually I might invest in one that's more variegated, but you can see a lot of the leaves have come in just more green, which I'm not really that much of a fan of, so I'm probably going to chop that one back. And this other one here is an Amedrium medium silver in the front. I think it's a really cool plant. Look at that rippling there. It's definitely cool. There's some other leaves. So mine has thrown a lot of runners, and you can see that it's actually running again. And I am way behind at extending it. So this one I am going to chop back as well. I'm going to take a few cuttings to restart on a pole. This one is very thirsty and I underwater it a lot. It needs to be repotted and extended. So I'm not sure how I want to go about that. I might do like a top section and kind of propagate the rest up. I do have some random props of this one already, but yeah, it's a cool plant. You have to stay on top of extending this one because yeah, it tends to run a lot and it's very thirsty. So at least in my experience, it's a very, very thirsty one, but I do really love the color. And we are back. Now this corner is pretty cramped, so I'm going to do my best to show you these plants. I might take, maybe I'll take my big Michelitiana out at some point just to show you her in full, because I know she's huge, but again, she's very crammed in the back. So let's start up top actually. Let's do this little shelf here. This one will be easy to show. So up top there on the right, that trailing Hoya is actually called a linearis, and I am going to be propagating mine again soon. I started mine from like a short cutting, and it's one of my Hoyas I've had for a while. I did cut it recently, but I do want to propagate it again. And beside that one is my philodendron heteroecium lemon lime, and I love the neon color of that one. I love how like the new leaves come in this burnt orange color. Look how pretty that is. Oh, and look at that one too. Look how pretty and orange that one is there in the middle. Oh, it's so pretty. I was trying to propagate to fill mine out, but I'll probably eventually propagate it some more. This Hoya on the edge is a Hoya curtisii. So I have my plant that's on the trellis, and then the one that's in this cup over here is actually just propagations. I ended up cutting the length off of mine, and they are in stratum. So instead of like potting them back together, I'll probably just look at creating like a small plant with that and getting rid of those, because I don't really need the cuttings. My curtisii has not bloomed yet, but it did at one point have several peduncles on it. I think once it situates from the repot, because I did like repot and everything. The only one on this bottom shelf is another philodendron micans. This is one that I've had from my moss pole. It was some random big propagations here. There's like one big leaf left. And this is all like new growth that has formed. So it's just another trailing basket. And then I have this white shelf. You can't really see where the bottom of it ends, but this is from Ikea. It's a LAC brand shelf. And I have all my Scindapsus. Starting at the top is actually a combo pot. I don't know if you can really make out the plant up top, but that one is the Argyraeus and the Silver Lady. You can't really see much of the Silver Lady. I think it's on the other side. But they looked kind of similar, and so I just potted them up together to save space. That one is actually trailing all the way. You can't really see, but it's trailing all the way back there in the back. You can kind of see it a little bit. This big one here, right below that, is a Scindapsus Pictus Exotica, and my Exotica is humongous. So the pot is like here, and then I have all the vines like stuffed in here, and then they started growing down below, so I have it trailing. You can see all the way down there on that side. And then I also have it trailing like all the way down here on that side, all the way down. It is huge and overgrown. Some of the leaves on my Exotica here are humongous. I love this Scindapsus so much. It's so pretty. It's such a beautiful plant. I love Scindapsus. I feel like they're so easygoing. They never get pests, and there's so many different varieties, including this one here. This was actually my favorite. This is the Scindapsus Jade Satin with these beautiful, gorgeous dark leaves. They are stunning. Absolutely gorgeous. This one here, look at this leaf. Look how pretty that is. That is stunning. Gorgeous. This plant is so beautiful. I don't really have like dark foliage and plants, and so to have this one be so dark and beautiful, I love like the texture, the ribbing. I don't know what you call that. It's so pretty. The new leaves come in a little bit more bright looking like that. They're a little bit more brighter of a green color, and then they kind of fade to, if I can grab a hold of it here, kind of fade to a darker green. So mine is very beautiful. I have propagated mine many times, and it's getting very long again. And good news is I have a variegated version that's kind of hiding back here. You can kind of make her out a little bit more. Look at this leaf. This is a new leaf, and this is a new leaf. This was imported over the summer last summer, and I ended up taking some propagations because it was just kind of one strand, and I'm glad I did that because now I have a few that can fill out this pot. Like this leaf is beautiful. I'm really glad to have a variegated version. I have another strand over here as well that's putting out a little bit of a leaf here. I think this was one of the original leaves, and this one, as well as this one here, was one of the originals. And I think that was maybe an original leaf, I'm not sure. But these three are the new ones, and these three are beautiful. So I cannot wait to grow this one out more. I love this Endapsis so much. I love the dark one. Like, the dark one is very beautiful. I mean, I really love this one here, but I'm just excited to have a variegated version. One more Scindapsus that's hiding under that bottom shelf is this one here. This one, I believe, is called a platinum. I don't think this is a silver hero. I think they called it platinum. It was imported. Mine has struggled. I've like propagated mine. I've added cuttings in. I've had cuttings not make it. It hasn't been the happiest Scindapsus. I'm tempted to just start over with this one again because you can see as it's vining, like the new growth is really small on it. Look how like wonky that is. So I don't know what's going on with it. It's not that happy. This one I feel like didn't import that well, and ever since it just hasn't been the happiest. I'm not really sure, but I really liked the silvery blue color. Like, I hope I can get it to grow better. So I might take some cuttings and kind of start this one over. Pulled out two more plants to kind of show you in their entirety. So this is my pink princess that is the most grown. So this is my original like highly variegated pink princess, and then I potted in the other one that I had with it. The other one is growing in with like less pink on it. It's more of like a burgundy. And then my highly variegated one is still giving me some like pretty variegated leaves. This one is in my aroid mix, but again, I feel like this one has had a bit of a struggle. I've had rot on it before and I've like rerooted it. I was hoping to have more pink on this one come in. But like I said, I feel like this one's been a bit of a struggle plant for me. I do really like the pink princess though. This is a Calathea makoiana, or it's also known as a peacock calathea, and she is large and in charge. I actually did a dedicated video on my channel of this plant, of like my story with her. This actually grew back from just a pile of dirt, and she's been on a long journey with me. Like, she is huge. I love her so much. I hope she blooms again for me this year, but she's starting to give me some new leaves again. I love like the backside is this beautiful maroon color. She's really pretty at night when she folds her like leaves up. Such a beautiful plant. I have this one potted into a 8-inch nursery pot. It's just sitting in a white cash pot, but it's in my, this one's in my old soil mix that I used to use. It's not like technically an aroid mix, but she seems happy in it, and I don't feel like she needs a repot or anything this year. I'm gonna see how she fills out. But yeah, she is huge. She is a huge, huge plant. Here's my makoiana. So beautiful. I love her. This one is actually my Anthurium pedato radiatum. The leaves look like long eyelashes. Somebody told me that when I posted it, and I can't unsee it. Look how cool that leaf is. This one is what I crossed my Clarinervium with. I do get some crispy tips on mine. I don't know if it's some kind of like fungal thing, I'm not sure. This is one of my older Anthuriums. I've had this one for quite some time. They look so different in their less mature form, like in their juvenile form. It's just crazy to think that it's the same plant. I love all the fingers. It's also called Anthurium fingers. So cool. And this is my Big Mama Crystal Mag hybrid. That is all that's left of her, is this new leaf here. I did recently cut off her ugly leaf because she battled she didn't battle root rot, she battled a pretty bad fungal issue. So I made the decision to move her to pon, and it's taken a while for her to push a new leaf, but she's finally pushing a new leaf. And she's the one that self-pollinated, and I have like 361 seeds. She's the mama, so I'm hoping I'll regrow her this summer. I don't think it'll take too long for her to give me some new leaves. I pulled out my two variegated Friedex. I have two of them here. This one has beautiful variegation. She is gorgeous. These are some new leaves here, like look at that. This one is my favorite. That color is everything. This is a new leaf here. stunning. Look how big some of these leaves are. She is beautiful. This one is very pretty too. This one's giving me such gorgeous color. I have a smaller corm on the side, and then I have the main plant there. And this one's living in Lechuza Pond. And this one here is actually a corm from her. This was like the original plant that I've had to regrow. And this corm is huge. I think this is the newest one. Yeah, these leaves are huge, and it is pushing, it looks like a new one there in the center. So beautiful. I just love alocasia. I love the variegated frydek. Obviously, it's just such a beautiful plant, and mine are so much happier in pond. They don't get as much light. They were a little unhappy under more light, but they're really happy now. They have like established here. This is kind of where they live. So they get some ambient light from the window, and then there's like a grow light there and a grow light there. I pulled both of these big girls out so I could show you them. This one is the big one, and then this one in the back is like the bottom part of her. What I ended up doing, so these were stumps like June of last year. Mine had a fungal issue and it completely died back. So I made the decision to propagate. I cut the stump in half, and that's like the bottom stump, and these are like 4 like growth points that activated, and this is the top section that has produced all this big growth. This big section here has, this leaf here was having some issues, and I later found out that she was lacking nutrients. So I started feeding her better, and she's grown and done better. She does have several blooms coming in on her right now, which I'm gonna cut these off because yeah, these blooms are huge. I have 1, 2 blooms. I have 3 blooms coming in, and I don't want this plant to stress because of the blooms. I don't plan on like trying to pollinate alocasia. I've never done that before. So I do want to cut those off. I just haven't done that yet. I try to keep them watered about once a week, but sometimes I'm a little behind. This last time they got just a little bit dry, but you can see like they are some massive plants. Like the leaves and everything are huge. I do need to kind of like restake her a little bit differently. She's kind of like flopped over a little bit. She's probably due for a water soon. And then some of the older leaves on this one have started to yellow a bit, but there's so many on this plant. I love Michelitziana though. This is probably like my favorite alocasia other than like the new variegated ones that I got. I like the variegated version better. Like obviously these are beautiful leaves, and I love the variegated plants, but I will always love regular Michelitziana. She's beautiful. Like these leaves are beautiful. Look at that veining. I'm gonna get these put back in their corner over here. It's so much more empty without them right there. And then we're gonna move on to this shelf here. I have a row of alocasia that I'll go over. I have some random Maranta, Calathea, and an anthurium there. And then up top I have mostly monsteras that I'll go over, which they are facing the light. That's how I usually have them. I want to like turn them around so you can see how beautiful they are, so I'll probably do that. And then we'll go over the hanging plants. Okay, I got them all turned around. That was a lot of work. I actually have so I have 2 ties over here on the end, and one is tipping forward because she needs like a heavier pot. She's got a massive leaf. Right now I have her pressed up against the window so she's not tilting, but I have some big plants. Why don't we just go ahead and start up top first? So up top over here, we have my Polynura. So this is my original Polynura Hoya. And this one has bloomed for me already this year. I don't currently have any blooms, but I do have like a peduncle coming back on that one that you can see. Sorry if it's a little backlit. You can kind of see a little bit more, just a little bit backlit with the window, but here's the peduncle coming back in on this one. The blooms on this one were pretty sappy, so once the blooms come in, I do have to unfortunately move her from the window because I don't want the ants to come in. Beside the Polynura is a variegated string of pearls. Can I see? My plan was at one point to combine. I have a regular pearls as well, but I haven't done that yet. Both of my pearls actually suffered some root rot, so I've had to like restart them, but they've done really well. They love the window here. Beside my pearls, we have a massive Peperomia prostrata, or string of turtles. This one I did have to restart because the ants that came in from that Hoya I was talking about earlier made a colony in her pot, so I had to start her over. But she has done very well. Look at all the fluffy leaves. I even have her in a turtle pot from Target. Next we have a Hoya lacinosa. Now this is the one that I mentioned blooms constantly. I have some blooms that are getting ready to fall. I like to pull them off if I can catch them because they make a mess when they fall. But yeah, lacinosa blooms. Those ones are starting to open a bit. This one is in a cute little sloth pot there. Yeah, that one blooms all the time. For some reason, like the ants don't care about this Hoya because I guess it's not sappy. So I can leave this one in the window with it blooming and it's no problem. And then next to that, this one is my regular pearls here growing back. I kind of have most of the strands like in the front there in the window, but it's getting pretty long. You can see how long it's getting. I might eventually combine them both just to save space. I would like to, it'd be nice to actually like plant that one, the variegated one, on the back side of this one. So they're in nursery pots, this one here, so they're not actually planted into that planter yet. So I could actually pot them together, which I may eventually do. And here on the end, you can actually see my string of hearts. Now this one I did plant my regular hearts and my variegated hearts together. I did that, I think last year sometime. And I have propagated this plant many a times. The more light that you give it, the more pink that the hearts come in. You can actually see some pink there hanging in the front of the window on that side. It's not that full up top, so I may eventually like prop again, but it has gotten so long. So you can see it goes all the way down there, down there, down there, and it actually comes, I have it draped onto the planter here, and then it's actually going all the way down to the floor. And look at how big some of those leaves have gotten, the ones down here. And she sheds blooms constantly. The string of hearts have these cute little blooms here. They're so cute. So you can kind of see the variegated versus the regular. It's a really fast grower. They're really easy to propagate, I find too. So I'll eventually give it a haircut here, but for right now, it's kind of all the way down there. Before I go into the front row, I actually have plants behind the front row in the actual window ledge. So I'm gonna see if I can go over some of these guys first. So this one here is a new one I just got. This one was a free gift from Rare Plant Fairy because they sent me the wrong plant. So this is a Monstera Lechleuriana or something. So I'm very excited to have this one because I love Monsteras. I'll probably eventually get this one climbing. But yeah, it has that beautiful like elbow variegation. That leaf looks to be all white, which isn't good. But it's a really beautiful plant. I'm excited to grow this one and have this one. But yeah, this one's only like a week old, if that, in my collection. This next one was in my cabinet, but I decided to move it out of my cabinet because it was getting kind of tall. And this one I am going to be obsessed with. So this is a Monstera Burl Marks Flame. I am getting a new leaf here, which I hope has a fenestration. This plant in its mature form is so beautiful. So this one I actually grew from tissue culture and it's done really well. It has been a super easy tissue culture. Like I said, I haven't had any issues with this plant. And to me, I feel like it's growing pretty steadily. I have heard these can be somewhat of a slow grower, but honestly, I feel like mine has done fairly well since I've had it. I think I did this in October, so I've gotten like 1, 2, 3, maybe like 5 leaves, so that's not bad. But I'm really excited for this one to grow. I can't wait to get mature leaves on it. It's very beautiful. Let me see if I can turn this one around. All right, so this one is my Monstera Stanleyana Albo. So I had mine on like a 4-foot moss pole, but I decided to chop it and only keep the top cut. And I propagated my entire rest of the pole just because it got too overgrown. It's put out some beautiful Albo half moon leaves. Very pretty. I had it on a pole, but I kept letting it get too dry, so I'm just doing a stake situation for it. The white does brown on this plant very easily. I have been watering with silica for a while now, but it still browns. I feel like it's just mostly a watering inconsistency, most likely. But it's a very beautiful plant. I hope the albo leaves continue because they're very beautiful. That one's mostly green though. This next one is one of my pride and joys that I'm super excited for. I got this one as a tissue culture the very end of July. This is my Monstera Mint, and it gave me this like weird elongated leaf, and this is the newest one. It's very beautiful. I hope they kind of get more minty like this one. These ones aren't as minty, I've noticed. Like some of the original ones are pretty. I do need to get this one repotted because the roots are growing like crazy. So this is the tissue culture that had all those weird babies growing, and the babies are actually right there in that container. So I showed you one of the babies already in my other cabinet. So it was just so weird how, let me see if I can peek through here. So it's just weird how all these were growing from that one plant out of the callus or whatever. So I'm growing these out and hoping they all make it, and I'll eventually let these go, but it's still going to be a while. I feel like they need to root and kind of establish. The one pot on the bottom left, I don't know if it's going to make it. I don't really see anything left on that one, but I'm hoping the rest of them do okay. And I have one more plant in the window over here. This is my Ficus shriveriana, and it's getting the best light here in the window. I repotted this, so I've had two plants. This one on the right was getting lower light, and this one on the left was getting like high light in my window the whole time. So this one's actually pushing a new leaf now that it's getting higher light. Finally, it's starting to grow more. I'm really excited for this ficus. I only have the two ficus in my collection, the one I showed you, the Thiccly that was outside, and this one here. So I'm really excited for this one. I think the shriveriana is beautiful, like the color on that. This one's in my aroid mix, and it is very happy in here. So yeah, it loves its spot in the window. So starting on this corner here, this is my Pilea peperomioides. Right here, it's got one stem there in the middle, and then it's got like another one kind of leaning out over this way. And it does have some pups forming. So mine I've had for a while, and it was doing well, and then I believe it suffered some root rot issues. And so I made the decision to move it to a semi-hydro into Lechuza Pond, and it really seems to love it. Let me move it down. It's really hard to show you the plants when they're all cluttered together. But yeah, she seems really happy. I hope I can get her to grow better this year. I'm still losing some bottom leaves. I think it's still kind of adjusting. I feel like it's done better though, like it's grown better. I'm still getting like wonky growth and stuff. I feel like it could probably use more light, honestly, but I don't really have like the best spot for it right now. Yeah, all my plants are just getting too big. Too big, I don't have any room. Okay, besides the Pilea, I have two Monstera albo plants that are growing back. I have this one here, which is my original, very original Monstera albo. All of my Monsteras that you saw behind me all had root rot issues last summer, which was very unfortunate because I had to restart them all. This was my original one that I got as a cutting from my husband. It was like my very first expensive plant. It's very white. It's a very, very white albo. It's very beautiful. Some of the original leaves here from when I propagated it, when it had the rot issues, did a lot of browning. But since it's stabilized and re-rooted back, all the newer growth has been very happy. This newer leaf has my heart. Look how beautiful that is. It's done some beautiful leaves. It's growing in so well since the root rot issues, but I love how like different all the albos are. That's why I have so many, because I love them. I love all the tones in this one. This one's very white, very beautiful. This is another one that's growing back. I decided to keep this one because this propagated mid-cut leaf, I fell in love with the colors. It's produced some pretty leaves. Like it's produced some beautiful like variegation and everything. It's just one vine. They're all beautiful. So I don't know if I'm going to keep this one. This might be one that I might propagate for the shop. I haven't decided because I like this one. It's beautiful. And I also have the one in pond. But there was just something special about this leaf that made me decide to keep this one too. But it's very pretty. I love this one. I'm just happy that they're all growing back. Before I show you the other albo, it's kind of like keeping my Monstera tie from falling. Let me show you one of my newer plants as well. This is also from Rare Plant Fairy. I fell in love with this Aria on their site, and I have my beautiful big Aria right next to her, like my OG. But this one was just special in the sense that I just loved the color on this one. It's very beautiful. This is the newer leaf, and you can see all that variegation that's hardening. And this is a leaf down here. I love her so much. I just couldn't resist getting another one. I don't know. I want to grow it out, but I may eventually prop one of these in the future. But this one here is my original Aria. She is a very, very happy plant. Let me move her so you can see what she looks like. You can see her a little bit better now. She's got some really long aerial roots. The nearest leaf here, it's so beautiful. I have a new one here on the way. I just have a core pole in her for support. But yeah, I had propagated her entire top cut. All of the bottom growth I ended up selling. So the top cut was like these original leaves, and then I've gotten like all these new leaves to come in since. So I'm very happy with the progress that she's made. These leaves are so beautiful. I love this Aria. It's definitely one of my favorite plants in my collection. Very beautiful. Gorgeous plant. I love all the leaves. I hope this one has some good color. I feel like I'm getting a little bit more fenestrations to come in. I have her planted into my aeroid mix. Very beautiful, very impressive monstera. I'm gonna show you this tie before she falls. Look at this huge leaf. Like, this is humongous. Huge leaf, and she's pushing another one here. So my tie wants to crawl. I need to water her so her base is very light, but she's top heavy, so she won't stand now because she just leans forward. I have her pressed up against the window because this leaf is huge and long. She's long. I don't really have a spot for her, but you can see that she wants to crawl. And then here's the new leaf coming in right there. This is my favorite leaf on her. I love the big one because she's got some like huge fenestrations, but this one is beautiful. Gorgeous leaf. So this is my OG Monstera tie. I do have a video on her I did last month. I grew her from a node. Very impressive plant. I got this in 2021, I believe, as like a node with like one little growth point. The very first video I did on my channel was with this plant, a repotting video. So she is my OG, very, very impressive. I love this tie. This one is my other Monstera Tycon. This one I will eventually get rid of because I don't need to. This one's in a much smaller pot. This one still kind of wants to crawl, but I feel like lately it's kind of wanting to climb up, which is a good thing because when they crawl, they just get too long. There's just not enough room for them. But this one has some pretty leaves coming in too. This one was grown from tissue culture, so it's done really well. I got this one in 2022 from tissue culture. I feel like she's probably going to give me a new leaf. She's not ready yet, but she'll probably give me another one in maybe the next month. She's beautiful. I love my OG one though, but this one's still special, so I'm still holding on to her, but she's an impressive plant. Very beautiful. Here is my Monstera albo that's living in pond. She's getting tall. I'll give you another angle of her. I love this one so much. I have her just on a clear support. You can kind of see the back side. I don't have any moss or anything in here. I'm just using it as like a stake. Yeah, she's getting very big. She loves pond. This is the only like Monstera deliciosa that I have currently growing in pond. So she seems to love it and is growing. I have two vines in here and they're both growing very steadily. I have Monsteras all over the floor now. So here is another look at her in pond. I love how the white leaves are on this one. I feel like she's just got beautiful color. Beautiful, beautiful indeed. That's a new leaf here and that's a new leaf here. And there's another look at her backside. You can see all the aerial roots are growing back down into the pond. I need to go ahead and add another extension on, so I'll probably go ahead and do that soon. So yeah, these are all my albos right here. And then I showed you the other one in the other room that I'm going to propagate. So this one definitely I'm keeping as well as this one, but this one I might go ahead and propagate too because yeah, I don't need this many albos. It's a lot of Monsteras. They are my favorite plants, especially her back there. They are my favorites. And of course the ties are stuffed back here. So I have her propped up against the window because she's so massive now. She's very top heavy. But yes, very Very chunky monstera. Let me go ahead and show you the rest of the plants on this shelf. Really quickly, we'll run through them, and then I'm gonna put these monsteras away, and then we'll kind of end with our pole area over here. Everything is in pon on this middle shelf. So on the end here, we have Alocasia Black Velvet. So that's, I recently got the pink variegated, which I showed you in the other cabinet. But yes, she's getting very big. Like, this leaf is huge. I've struggled to grow this alocasia, but it really loves semi-hydro, and it's done phenomenal in pon. I definitely need to upsize this one. The one right next to it is Azalani. This one came to me from the big box store. It was in soil, and it had a really terrible fungal issue. Oh my gosh, that fungal infection on this plant was awful. I grew it back, and actually the original plant didn't make it. I take that back. These were all corms that I saved, and I planted a few into pon after I discovered pon and realized how much alocasias love it, and it gave me recently some pretty big leaves that you are seeing right now. So I think that's just in response to like the nutrients and everything. It just really loves semi-hydro. Next to that is my dragon scale. Now my dragon scale is does have some sport variegation. It's really hard to see. It's very minimal, and it fades as the leaf hardens. It's really hard to make out. I bought it as a variegated one, but none of the leaves came back in full variegated. It's just very minimal and slight on this plant. But yeah, I have a couple corms in here, and I can't wait for more growth on this one. And I'm really excited to have like an actual albo variegated one now. This one is my original poly here. These are all corms that have grown back. I forgot to mention a lot of these alocasia had fungal issues last summer, so it's taken a while for them to kind of grow back. And that's what prompted me to try a semi-hydro, because my regular big Micholitziana was huge in soil, and then it suffered that fungal issue. So unfortunately, like, I had to start it over. I really like the poly though. I like the kind of yellow veining on that. I can't wait to get a variegated one. I know mine isn't variegated, but I hope the corms are, because it's so pretty. Next to that one is Alocasia Maharani. This one has the cool textured leaves and the beautiful veining here. It's a very pretty alocasia. I was tempted to get a mellow recently because I saw it, but I decided not to because I have the Maharani and I don't really have room. But I really love the texture on this one. It's so cool. Next to that is a newer alocasia. It hasn't pushed a new leaf yet, but it looks like it is about to, which is exciting. This one is Alocasia Platinum, or Bisma. This is a new one that I got recently. I love the color on this one too. That texture and tone and everything is so pretty. I rooted this one in water for a few weeks, and then I moved it to pon. So this will be the first leaf actually in pon, which I'm excited to see. This one here is the Infernellis. I couldn't think of the name for a minute. This one is a recent alocasia I found at the big box store, and I love the dark leaves on this one. This was a recent pon that I did, that I put into pon from water, so I don't have a new leaf yet since being put in pon, but all the old leaves still look really good and happy. So I like to move to water stratum before I move to pon, just to lessen any shock. This one here has grown on me quite a bit. This is Alocasia Quilted Dreams, or Sinuata. Ignore the massive aerial roots on the monstera, but it's a beautiful alocasia. Like, look at those leaves. I love like the texture on that. They come in lighter green and then they fade to a darker green. This one really loves semi-hydro. Very beautiful. And this next one is one of my favorites. Oh no, the leaves are getting squished, of course. Ah, let me take this one down. This thing is growing like a weed. Holy cow. Look at the leaf shape on this one. This is a Alocasia heterophylla, or dragon's breath. This is a massive leaf that it put out. It is such a unique shape. These leaves are getting a little kinked accidentally. I hope they're okay. It's too big for that shelf. I'm gonna have to take her down. Such a cool alocasia, such a unique shape. This is one that I got last year, and these are corms that grew back from my original pot that I bought. This is one that I purchased in the moment. I saw a picture of this that somebody posted online, and I immediately fell in love with it, and I immediately bought it. It's such a beautiful alocasia. Like, look at that. She's getting massive. So beautiful. I don't have any words. This is probably Other than like my variegated alocasias that I got in my Michelizziana, I feel like this is one of my favorites behind that one because it's so unique and it's so beautiful. Moving to the bottom shelf here, this is the other part of my variegated Maranta. So these are propagations that I took that were mostly variegated. So I feel like they have enough roots. I could probably go ahead and pot them up, but again, I don't know how much that one's going to revert. I hope I get some good color. I think I might put those into pond and see how it goes for me, but I really do want some variegation. I still hoping to find one. Next to that is my Stramanthe Trio Star. This is the same one that I've had for a while. It battled a fungal issue as well, so it took a while to kind of finally rehab back, but it is pushing a lot of new growth. I really do love this plant. It is so beautiful. I love the colors and the underside of the leaves. Like, look how hot pink that is. It's so pretty. It's such a beautiful plant. Stramanthe Trio Star. So I can't wait to get mine back full to where it was. It was probably at least double or maybe even triple the size that it was now. Next to that is my Silver Band Maranta. This is a recent one that I upsized. This one did have flat mites really bad. So these were all propagations that I took from my original plant. And I kind of started over basically with this plant. So I underwatered it while it was root bound a few times. So it's taken a while to kind of finally stabilize, I feel like. But now that it's been repotted and better watered, I feel like it's starting to push more growth. But I really love the Silver Band. I like the leaf shape and everything on this one. Beautiful leaves. Flat mites really did a number of damage to my Marantas. Next to that is a Anthurium I've had in my collection actually for a really long time. This is a Magnificum. This newer leaf coming in is beautiful, that color. So this one I got as like a little chunk and it never grew. I've had it for years. It just struggled for some reason. But ever since I moved it to pond, I feel like it's been in pond for maybe like 5 or 6 months. It's finally growing, so I'm very happy with it. I think the Magnificum is pretty, so I'm excited to have it. I'm finally excited to see it grow. It hasn't had an inflow yet, but once it does, I might try like pollinating it with something in my collection. Yeah, beautiful Anthurium. This big, beautiful plant here is a Maranta Lemon Lime. This is another one in my collection. Now this one is in pond. It is a little bit kind of later in the evening now. I've been filming this video most of the day. So she doesn't look as full and fluffy as she normally is, but she's a big Maranta. But you can kind of see, I hope you can kind of see how big she is. But usually when during the morning hours, she's more like fluffy and everything, but since it is the evening now, she has gotten a little bit inward. I don't know the right word, but she's beautiful. She really loves pond. That's why I want to do another Maranta in pond because this one has done so well. But yeah, I love lemon lime. I have a lot of lemon limes. I got a little crazy there when I was shopping at the big box store and I came across so many. But this one is my OG. This is the one that I've had for a really long time. And this one had flat mites really bad as well. But I'm glad that she's happy now and she's doing better. Oh gosh, that's heavy. But yeah, I love lemon lime. So that terrarium is mostly just a jewel orchid and a fern that's kind of dying off. I just have it there in the back. It doesn't really get any light or anything. So honestly, I should move it because that's not an ideal spot. And this alocasia is a Regal Shields. This one I am going to move to pond. I just am really behind on doing a lot of transfers. It's still in soil and it's taken a bit of a hit. This is another one that had a fungal issue. And you can see the stem, how thick it is. It's a really big, chunky alocasia. So I might do the same thing that I did with my Michelizziana, is do like a propagation and do a top chunk into pond, and then the bottom part will like reshoot and grow. I might grow in a different spot. I might take this one out of my plant room over the course of the next couple of months because yeah, it's really squished back here and I do want to move it to pond, so I'm gonna have to like root it in water for a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of like, is that my last plant over here that's not a moss pole? No, I have one more plant over here that's not a moss pole. And I'm gonna quickly show you it. It is hiding way back down there. So that is a Synapsis. It's a silver lady. and I've had that one for a really long time. It started as a cutting, and then it's kind of trailing like all the way back there. So I probably will eventually propagate that one too. I have propagated it once before, but I'll probably go ahead and prop it again. We are in the home stretch, you guys. Oh my gosh, my voice. I feel like I can't talk anymore. But I'll try and show you what I can. But these are like my biggest, most impressive plants in my collection, and they're very squished. I have like 2 rows of plants and not enough space, unfortunately. So I am going to be chopping a lot of these back. I have a lot of overdue extensions and a lot of chopping to do, and they're very overgrown. The Adansonii is taking up a ton of space. That's like my biggest plant in my collection right now. So yeah, let's start over here. So right in front, this is the Enjoy Pearls and Jade. That's from the original pot that I showed you earlier. I did chop it, so I think the new growth here got a little bit smaller. It'll definitely start sizing up again, but I think it's just a little bit slow to kind of get started again. But yeah, I think the bigger leaves are so pretty on that one. Next to that is a Epipremnum pinnatum marble variegated. It is taking a while for the leaves to kind of mature. I feel like this one's pretty stubborn about growing into the actual pole. I don't know if anything is actually rooted. We have a little bit of roots in there. So hoping it kind of takes off here and gets growing a bit more. I have seen these leaves like pretty big, so I'm hoping it'll eventually get there, but I think the marble variegation on it is so pretty. Mine started as like a cutting with no growth at all, so it has grown and done a lot in about a year's time. It's just, yeah, it'll probably be a while before it starts to size up. These 2 big plants in the back are my 2 big Epipremnum on moss poles. And then we also have a golden here in the front. So over here is my big marble queen, and she is a huge, huge plant. The size of these leaves are actually crazy. I did chop her, and so I added like her bottom section in. You can see that growth there. But when I chopped her from like the first time, she started growing some like smaller leaves, like this one, this one, this one, and then now she's starting to size up and grow some really big leaves again. And I have another one there on the way. But those leaves here in the back are huge. Look how big they are. She is definitely overdue for, I want to try and do a little bit of an extension because you can see she's outgrown the pole. She is climbing well beyond it. I am very late on extending her. And then right next to her is my Just Sienna, and this is a beautiful Epipremnum. You can see all the way down there, and just look at the color on this plant and these huge leaves. Gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous plant. I love Marble Queen, but man, this Just Sienna is absolutely beautiful. Like, look at that color. Very impressive leaves. Like, these are huge leaves. It's crazy to think that this started from just tiny little cuttings that I put on a moss pole. It's insane to think about. It really is. And look how thick and chunky the vine is getting. It's very thick. I love them both. This one has definitely done really well. I have not technically chopped this one yet, and I have chopped the Marble Queen once already. And then the golden, I have a video on my channel where I put the golden on the pole, and this is like all the growth that has come in. I am a little bit late at extending it. You can see it's kind of overgrown on the top, so I need to get on that as soon as possible. She is starting to give me some bigger leaves here. Which is pretty crazy to think about. I have a total of 3 vines on the plant, you can see. So yeah, I need to really extend this one before it overgrows too much. But I took cuttings at the bottom. That was from my plant in the bathroom that I showed you earlier. So this, I decided I wanted one to climb, so I took cuttings, and now I have this huge plant on a moss pole. She's gotten so big. Not as big as my other ones, but definitely big. It's gonna start getting crazy in here with all these poles. You can kind of see there. So that is a Epipremnum Cebu Blue, and I chopped it already. So all the little leaves are gone. So this is all like the mature growth. So recently mine, I was really late at extending it. So what happened was it grew a runner. Let me move this thing. So unfortunately I had to like chop. So this was like the latest leaf that was most mature. So I had to chop the runner off, and you can see where I did that. And so it's activated a new node that's growing. So it actually gave me a Fenny as the second leaf. So usually when you chop the top off, it reverts back to juvenile growth, but it shouldn't take too long to size up again. So I'm happy to at least have another split leaf already. But you can see how many splits she gave me down below. So yeah, even though that she was on a pole and everything, she decided to give me a runner. I'm not sure why she decided to do that, but yeah, I hope I get some of those big mature leaves again. I don't really like this gap in the middle, so eventually as she grows more, I'll probably do some kind of chop and extension and adding the base or something back in. This one here is Philodendron Majestic. I kind of scooted her so you could see a little bit more. And she is getting a super big, super tall. I have a total of 2 vines on this plant, and this is the newest leaf here. Very beautiful. Look at that coloring. Beautiful plant. And this is the other smaller vine. This is the leaf on that vine. So this plant, I have it on, I think 4 layers of the clear. So it's getting very top heavy because the leaves are getting so big. There we go. I hope you can see a little bit more. I kind of moved some lights out of the way. So yeah, you can see where I started her on the bottom. She has some really small leaves, and then the one vine just like, boom, popped these huge, massive leaves, which is just insane. I love like the silver and the blue, and the other vine is still a bit small. So I can't really extend this plant again, honestly, because any more layers to her, she's gonna get too big and overgrown. Going to get top heavy, so I might make the decision to do a top cut, maybe like under here, and then I can propagate this bottom growth. So I might do that soon with this one. She's roughly 6 feet tall now with the top leaf, so she's a big pole, but very beautiful. And her kind of sibling is right here. This is Sorderoy. So Majestic is a hybrid. It's a hybrid of the Sorderoy right here, and also, is it the Verrucosum? I believe the Verrucosum and Sorderoy. Okay, I brought the Sorderoy forward a little bit so you could kind of see in more full. I love how the leaves are on this one, how round they are. It is pushing a new leaf here. So this one is just 1 vine. I got this as a really tiny plant. Well, all my poles started as really tiny plants. And yeah, this one is more like compact, like the spacing between the nodes isn't as long, which is nice. I like the more compact look. You can kind of see the vine there. It isn't as stretched out. But yeah, she is beautiful. She's a big plant still though. I feel like the only thing that I don't like about this one is all the extra floral nectaries, the EFNs. You can kind of see all that sap there. It just gets very sappy and the leaves get very sticky. So this one is more noticeable than some other phylos that have them. So yeah, but she is beautiful. I love them both. It's hard to pick between like this one and the Majestic. It really is. They're both unique in their own way. This is a Sorderoy, kind of in full next to me. You can see how big it is. Beautiful plant. This is Majestic. She's huge. I had to be careful not to hit my ceiling fan, but massive, massive plant compared to me, like being next to this plant. This is the newer leaf here. It is crazy, crazy. It's really hard to show you like the sheer size of some of these plants, like actually just showing you, but when you have them like close to like an actual person, you can kind of get a size reference for actually how big some of these plants are. It's crazy. Okay, now we've kind of opened up this middle space. I'm gonna start on the end here. So on the end is a Monstera, but this is Monstera Esqueleto, and you can see how big some of these top leaves have gotten on this plant. Pretty big, like this is my hand. So this is probably, I imagine that's probably at least 20 inches or something. That's a pretty big leaf. And here's another new one here in the middle dangling. I did chop this plant already, and I'm selling all of my bottom cuts on this plant. I can add 2 more layers onto her if I really wanted to. I'll probably add at least 1 more, and I might consider doing like another chop on this plant. Right now, currently, it's just 1 vine, and the leaves are beautiful. It's just a big plant. I like that it doesn't take up too much space. I feel like even though it's a big plant, it's still a little bit more compact in a sense. Like the internodal spacing isn't crazy long, which I tend to prefer ones that have shorter spaces. Oh no, did my, no, my varicosum leaned. Oh no. I was like, what happened to her top growth? Oh gosh, she's getting too top heavy. Whoops, I just noticed like my varicosum was leaning. It's like all the way up here. It was like leaning behind. I'm surprised she didn't come falling forward. I need to do a chop on that one, like ASAP. So yeah, Monstera esqueleto, love her. Right beside Esqueleto is Philodendron Glorious. This one I chopped as well not too long ago. So there at the bottom are still some pretty big leaves, but all the small leaves are kind of gone. This one is a hybrid. So the Glorious is crossed between Philodendron melanochrysum and Gloriosum. You can kind of see, mine kind of resembles, I feel like mine resembles the Gloriosum with the veining. This is the newest leaf here. And this one, was the one before that. Look how beautiful and pillowy these leaves are. Very beautiful. I still have a ways to go for I would have to like chop her. I would probably do like a foot or two extension and then chop her again. But I really like the Glorious. I feel like it's such an easygoing philo. It loves climbing and these leaves are just so beautiful and gorgeous. And next to her is the Varicosum that is now top heavy. Varicosum I have chopped a couple of times now. You can see kind of at the bottom where it starts. And then her newest leaf is like, this is how much she's leaning. That's the newest growth. I can't even show you because, yeah, she's leaning now. Too top heavy. Maybe I'll get a piece of tape and tape her up. Let me tape her to the wall for a minute so you can see. Okay, I'm back. I put a piece of tape on her top vine on the wall there so she wouldn't fall over. Yeah, she's big. Like she's gotten some big leaves. I love Varicosum. I wish I could show you the top leaf. You can kind of see her. And this one has like the fuzzy petioles too. You can kind of see there. I love the fuzzies. My Varicosum is over 3 years old. I've struggled to grow my Varicosum and I'm so happy to see her in the state that she's in because it's been a long time coming. I've struggled with this plant a lot. Definitely a finicky philo for me, but we pulled through. I can't believe that this is the same plant that I got like over 3 years ago in the mail that was lost and had spider mites, and it's crazy to think about. It's crazy to think that the journey that some of these plants have been on with me. Let's do these two little ones in the front so we can move them out of the way. Oh my gosh, this pole is so dry. I need to water this one. You know, I didn't realize how thirsty some of my poles are. I'm gonna have to do some watering tonight. This is Monstera dubia. So Monstera dubia, I restarted because I
was behind on extending her and the leaf side down. I can't even talk now.
I was behind on extending her and the leaves sized down. So I did a chop and I started her over. It's taken a while for her to size up again, but she started sizing up and I'm really behind on extending her. This is the biggest I've gotten and now she's off the pole again and I'm gonna have to probably do another chop. I don't know, I'm just really behind. I am really behind on my poles. They're a lot of work. Next to her is Milano, and Milano I'm mad at right now. Let me move this cord. I'm mad at Milano because she was growing so well and I underwatered her and she freaked out. So I was starting to get some good size leaves, like this one over here is a decent size. And I think she has some kind of powdery mildew again. I don't know if you can see on the leaves. I had treated her once for powdery mildew and I think I'm gonna need another treatment. I thought she was gonna be fine. But because I underwatered her, look at the top growth, look how wonky it is. Like, what is that? I'm gonna have to pull all that off. Yeah, that's coming off. So unfortunately, yeah, that's like wonky. Hopefully I can get her growing again because I was super upset. I've been trying to grow Milano for so long. She's currently in pon and I accidentally let her go dry and it's my own fault, but that's okay. I told myself I'm gonna try and grow Milano one more time, and if I can't grow it after this, then I give up on this plant. I do have the gigas that I'm gonna try and grow now, but yeah, Milano, it's so finicky. The stuck leaves and stuff drive me crazy with this plant. Next behind Milano is Philodendron Splendid, and Splendid goes all the way up to the grow light up there. These leaves on this plant are massive. I can't even show you how big. Like this one here is the newest one and it's huge. It was accidentally growing like up into the lampshade, so the top left corner of it got burnt by the grow light. But she's big. She's now like my tallest pole with the varicosum. I think I chopped her twice already, and she's definitely gonna need another chop. Cause yeah, she's a massive plant. Yeah, just behind on all my poles. I don't think I've been this far behind on my moss poles before. I've just been so busy now with the shop that a lot of my planty projects got behind, and plus I knew I wanted to film this tour. So I didn't want to chop my poles until I filmed this because I really wanted to look back and see what my plants look like before I went to go chop them and stuff again. I just wanted to show them in their entirety and what they actually look like. I love Philodendron Splendid. Seriously, just such an easy plant. I highly recommend if you don't have this phyllo. This one here is another Marble Queen that I am growing. I'm doing a little experiment with it. It's definitely been somewhat of a slower one to get started, much slower than the Golden Pothos on a moss pole. This huge plant, front and center, is my massive Monstera adansonii. This plant is huge, you guys. This leaf here is 23 inches long. She is a massive, massive plant. This is the newest one here. I haven't measured this leaf yet. It's still kind of hardening. She just gave me this one not that long ago. But seriously, such a big plant. I chopped my adansonii 3 times now, and my latest chop, she was yellowing some leaves because she was like nutrient deficient. So she's kind of empty on the bottom part of her pole. Now that I've been feeding her better and stuff, it's been better. It's just, this plant is so huge and so massive that she just takes up so much water and so much nutrients. I have to feed her and water her minimum twice a week, and her pole is actually dry. Even though I just watered her 2 days ago, I'm gonna have to water her tonight. But just look at the vine on this plant. Look how thick that is. That is crazy, right? Like, it's massive. The aerial roots go all the way down. It's like the wingspan on it is huge. I don't have anywhere to put it, honestly. Like, there's just no room. I do want to like rearrange my poles when I have like a maintenance day and take care of some plants, because she's currently taking up like walking room into my plant room. I like bang into her every time. And she is leaning more forward now because she is such a big plant. She's only gonna keep getting bigger. So I have to do something here soon, but very impressive. I started this from a tiny, tiny, tiny plant on a moss pole. I do have a video on her journey as well. And all of my previous like moss pole chops and all that stuff, I have an entire playlist dedicated to moss poles. I think there's over 40 videos. Most of the chops that I've done on my plants, I have filmed. So if you're interested in a particular plant, that video should be in that playlist somewhere. Getting you next to adansonii, like this leaf, I don't even know if you can even make out how big this plant is. Like, look at that. That is crazy how big these leaves are. Huge, massive plant. I love her so much. Like, she's huge. Huge, 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 huge plant. Okay, I have a few more poles to show you. I'm gonna speed through this because I am running out of space on this memory card. I have 10 minutes left. This one here is Syngonium albo. Look at how tall she is. It's crazy. I have it growing up a huge pole. I think I have a total of 6 vines in this plant, but not all of them have grown all the way up. Some of them come in green here, like all green, and some of them come in more variegated. It's very dependent. The variegation is very random. Obviously, I like the more like albo looking leaves than the green leaves, but I'll probably do a good chop on her at some point because again, she's getting too tall, and yeah, just a massive, massive Syngonium. I love Syngonium albo though. It's a beautiful, beautiful plant. Like some of these leaves here in the middle are absolutely stunning. beautiful. This one here and that one, beautiful. This one here in the middle is, oh my gosh, do not fall. You can kind of make out is Epipremnum pinnatum albo, and I have not chopped this plant yet. You can kind of see the more juvenile leaves there on the bottom, and the vine slowly got thicker. She started getting more fenestrations. I have a couple like smaller vines in there. And then this main vine here is the one that really started growing. So she has beautiful big fenestrated leaves, and the newer ones are kind of squished behind this massive Adansonii. But I will chop her, I think, soon, because I feel like, yeah, I feel like I want to kind of reconfigure her on a pole a bit. And then the last pole, the last plant is a Philodendron micans on a moss pole. Look at that beautiful, gorgeous growth up top. I love Philodendron micans. And these leaves are absolutely gorgeous. I've had micans growing on a pole for a while. I've actually, now I'm trailing all the vines back down. I'm not like chopping or extending this one. So as the vines kind of fly off the pole, some are actually anchoring onto the wall now, and some are just going crazy. So I try to anchor what I can back down the pole, but yeah, I'm just letting that one grow wild on a pole and kind of do its thing. So thank you so much for watching my houseplant tour. It was definitely a long video. I filled up this entire memory card. I think it was brand new and held about 5.5 hours, so I have a lot of footage to edit and go through. But it was worth it. I'm glad I was able to get through them all. It was a long day, a lot of talking. I am tired, but I enjoyed it. I'm glad I could get this tour up for you and just give you an insight to all of my plants that I currently have. And I love them all so much. I just love growing plants, and it brings me so much joy to have these plants in my collection. And just, it's crazy to think where my collection started from, like way back in the day compared to now. It's crazy to see the progress. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I will talk to you soon.